If you've ever scored smarter than 95% of CEOs on your daily Zip LinkedIn game, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Got to say, it's a great way to start the day. Play that little puzzle, get a really good score, gives you a little bit of confidence. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the big day of the week, the linchpin day of the week, if you will. Tons of big tech earnings tonight. We do have some earnings here this morning as well. And of course, we have the big Fed decision where we all think a rate cut is priced in. So we'll see how we'll see how today ends up shaking out. Currently sitting here right near an all-time high yet again in the pre-market. Should be a fun day. Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Wednesday, October 29th, 2025 starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here again. Hope that you had a wonderful Tuesday evening. I know I enjoyed the Frozen Frenzy. Connor Bedard hat trick and a Blackhawks win. It was a good evening. Now we got another busy day ahead of us today. We're going to make it a good one yet again. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Brian is first. Good morning, all. What a time to be alive, Bri. I completely agree with you. Glad to have you back here. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Kayla, good morning. Solitary Soldier, good morning. The Judge, good morning. Peter, good to see you again. Good morning. Kelly 4. Kelly or 2. I almost said Kelly 4. Sorry, Kelly. Good morning. Welcome back. Ezra, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, wondering if it's a sell the news event. Bri, kind of foreshadowing there. I'm with you on that one. Seems like it's all priced in. Maybe it will be a sell the news event. Maybe we will get a pullback. Maybe we'll have some rather orderly trading and then chaos when the Fed meeting comes. We'll see how it all shakes out. Love to see if you guys have any trading, guys and gals, have any trading plans for that. That'd be cool. Cam, good morning. Welcome back. B-Ball, good morning. Welcome back. And I'm sorry about the usernames. There's nothing that we can do. I've been bugging the producers about it every day. They're tired of me bugging them. Apparently, the only thing that can be done is you can go into your own settings and change it, but there's nothing that I or we can do to get those usernames back to what I'm used to. So I'm just rolling with what we got. It's same but different. Absolutely love that handle. Absolutely love that handle. It's the same, but it's different. Sounds about right. Good morning. Welcome back. Sunkissed Yogi. Good morning. Welcome back. Big Dave. Good morning. Zach. Good morning. Day Trader. Good morning. Corey. Good morning. Dan. Good morning. Lombardo. Good morning. Big Bear Hug. Good morning. AC. Good morning. Jane. Great to see you again. Transitions. Good morning. Producers locked in. Cad Monkey. Good morning. Just passing through. Tenzin and Durkus. Welcome back. Golden Greenhorn. Welcome back. Sam, good morning. Sam says SPY puts for the win. You think SPY's coming in today? If you do, that's not a bad trade. And the FOMC might accelerate that if we get a sell the news event. Let me know what you put on, Sam. Brock, good morning. Welcome back. Atlas, Lion Atlas. Lion is what I normally call Lion. Good morning. Welcome back. JJ, good morning. Welcome back. NVIDIA is insane, Tenzin. NVIDIA is insane. Yesterday felt weird. Felt like people were selling everything to buy NVIDIA, which we haven't seen in I feel like a little bit. We got more news here about NVIDIA partnering with everybody else. So crazy stuff. Brandy, good morning. Maverick, good morning. Smita, good morning. Tom, welcome back. Good morning. Big Bees, Crimp Biscuit, and Dara, good morning. Tyler, good morning. Tree Frogs, good morning. Johnny, good to see you again. Welcome back. Let's see who else we got here. Marie, good morning. C Boogie, good morning. RP Trades, good morning. Yes, that girl, good morning. Michelle, good morning. Michelle's saying, important question. With all of these all-time highs and continued climbing, do you think we will have a serious drop in the stock market? Yes, and that's kind of what we're all trying to figure out when that's going to happen. I do think that's going to happen, but I can't tell you when. And I don't even know anymore if it's going to happen soon. That's the $64,000 question. Lambo Rolls, good morning. Welcome back. Diamond Hotline, good morning. Welcome back. Is that Lilith? Lilith, I love that name. Good morning. Welcome back. Catherine, good morning. Sandra, good morning. And Wiss, good morning. Okay, as Wiss said, let's get it. Let's go ahead and start with our stock market today. All right, futures are green here ahead of Wednesday's open and the FOMC meeting. S&P 500 futures up 0.26% ahead of the open. Dow futures up 0.13%, and the NASDAQ up 0.43%. So green arrows across the board ahead of the open here, but that's likely to change when we actually do open. Let's go ahead and take a look at some cues from last session. Sectors gaining on Tuesday included consumer discretionary and information technology, which bucked an otherwise negative market trend. Real estate, utilities, energy stocks recorded the biggest losses as most S&P 500 sectors fell. President Trump hinted that he expects to lower fentanyl-linked tariffs on China, a potential major concession ahead of a high-stakes meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea this week. Investors await the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee decision to cut interest rates by 25 basis points on Wednesday afternoon. The CME Group's FedWatch tool projections show markets are pricing in a 99.9% likelihood of the Federal Reserve cutting the current interest rate later today. Meanwhile, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Meta are all slated to report quarterly earnings after the closing bell here today. Additionally, the 10-year Treasury bond dipped below 4%, yielding 3.99%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.5%. We do have some stocks in focus here today. Some of them are going to be the big earnings reports that we're waiting on later today. Alphabet, that rose 0.67% in pre-market on Wednesday as analysts expect it to report earnings of $2.32 per share on revenue of $99.64 billion after the closing bell here today. Meta is our second stock on the list. That was up 0.47% ahead of its earnings, slated to be released after the closing bell. Analysts expect $8.11 per share EPS on revenue of $57.21 billion for the quarter. Microsoft rounds out our list of stocks that's looking to report after the bell here today. They advanced 0.39% and are looking for $2.97 per share on $10.61 billion of revenue. Teradyne, ticker TER, this is also on our list here today. Teradyne surged 20.91% after the chip testing equipment provider delivered better than expected third quarter earnings along with a robust outlook. This is interesting here, right? Chip testing equipment provider. This is our picks and shovels play for the semiconductor industry. They surged 20.91%. EPS of 85 cents beat the 79-cent estimate, and sales of 769.2 million beat the estimate of 743.77 million. Seagate Technology rounds out our complete list here. That's ticker STX. Shares climbed 7.17% after the company released its first quarter earnings report, beating expectations on the top and bottom lines. Seagate had an EPS of 261, which beat the 237 estimate, and sales of 2.629 billion, which beat the estimate of 2.545 billion. Producer making me hold that face there for the segment. Way to go, producer. Analysts at BlackRock maintain a generally positive forward-looking stance on the economy and stock market, centered on expectations of Federal Reserve policy. The firm's base case scenario assumes that a, quote, softer labor market allowing Fed rate cuts and supporting risk assets is playing out, end quote. This view is reinforced by cooling inflation and rising jobless claims, which BlackRock believes gives the Fed a data-backed path to keep cutting. Tactically, BlackRock is overweight U.S. equities. The firm notes that rate cuts amid a notable slowing of activity without recession should support U.S. stocks and the AI theme. Artificial intelligence is a key factor in this positive outlook, as BlackRock states, quote, "We see AI support corporate earnings," end quote. So this is really just kind of setting us up. We've kind of joked about the AI bubble. We just got a question here from Michelle about a big pullback. This is BlackRock telling you that AI is a part of the optimistic outlook that the market has. So if these things end up not materializing, absolutely you could make a case for a big market correction. We'll see if that's how it ends up shaking out. However, the firm is also keeping our macro scenarios fresh by weighing alternative outcomes. A key risk scenario involves hiring rebounds amid ongoing labor supply constraints, which could create stagflationary pressure and cause stocks to fall. Conversely, an upside scenario exists where the AI build-out and resulting productivity gains lead to strong growth, lower inflation, and big stock gains. No word if he means big stock gains from here or part of the big gains that we've already seen, frankly. September's advanced U.S. trade balance in goods, advanced retail inventories, and wholesale inventories data will be delayed due to the shutdown, but September's pending home sales data will be released at 10 a.m., and the Federal Reserve's decision on interest rates will be announced at 2 p.m., with Fed Chair Jerome Powell doing his address and press conference at 2:30 p.m. So we're getting really the big item here today. Now, we did want to talk a little bit about NVIDIA. You know what? Before we do NVIDIA, let's go back to the SPY chart. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll actually start with NVIDIA's chart because it's pretty crazy. Here's your SPY chart. Remember, we added this parallel channel after talking to Derek Oldensmith from T3 yesterday. I'm going to leave it on here because this is a kind of a really good example of the trend and the channel that we're in. This will also give us some more upside and downside targets when we do break out. As mentioned here, market is sitting at, the SPY is sitting here at 689.01. The all-time high from yesterday was 688.91. So if all things hold from right here, we're actually set to open at a slightly newer all-time high. I believe the last time that we opened at a slightly newer all-time high, we ended up selling off just a little bit before setting a new all-time high a day or two later. It'll be interesting to see if we get the same thing. Obviously, this is all going to be complicated with the Fed rate decision here today. That's really going to determine where we end up finishing the day. But between now and then, we'll see what we have on deck, and we'll see what kind of trades we can take a look at. I still think, just kind of looking at this trend line here, if we have a huge run up, 698 looks to be a key level. You might as well just call that 700. As I mentioned to you folks recently, we started to have some discussions about SPY 700, both by the end of the year and even sooner than that, maybe by the end of next week, depending on how all things go. So really kind of focusing in now on 700 for the SPY. If we look back here, I do have some other levels that I'd be watching. The 681.5, this represents the midpoint of the channel. So we'll see if that provides any support, but we do have these gaps. Let me zoom in a little bit more. We talked about this yesterday in Happy Hour 2. If we start to sell off, it feels like it's pretty gappy on this move up. I would imagine that if we do sell off, it would be pretty quick and we would fill a lot of these gaps. We can actually look at those levels when that happens, if it happens, I should say. It's also worth noting that our 20-day moving average, which we've been following quite a bit, that's down here at 670.63. That's almost 19 points lower than where we currently find ourselves. Just a wild move higher. Now, before we take a look at the NVIDIA news, let's first take a peek at the chart here. NVIDIA becoming the first $5 trillion company by market cap. And I'll tell you what, this thing was trading sideways for a while. This sure looks like breakout territory here. So for all of you that were trading NVIDIA or are still trading NVIDIA, ring that register. This is a good trade here. Continue breaking out. We'll see where it ends up going here. NVIDIA Corporation is trading higher. Bank of America maintained a buy rating on the stock and raised its price target from $235 to $275. That obviously ahead of earnings. Let's take a look at the news story here for NVIDIA. Jensen Huang delivers a stark message in Washington. U.S. can't win the AI battle by shutting out China's developers. Quote, it hurts us more, end quote. At NVIDIA's first developers conference in Washington, Huang told the Donald Trump administration that the U.S. must lead in AI while keeping China's developer ecosystem within reach. Quote, we want America to win this AI race. No doubt about that. We want the world to be built on the American tech stack. That's absolutely the case. However, he went on to say, quote, we also need to be in China to win their developers. A policy that causes America to lose half of the world's AI developers is not beneficial long-term. It hurts us more, end quote. Huang also announced that NVIDIA is building 7 new supercomputers for the U.S. Department of Energy, which has secured $500 billion in orders for advanced chips. The largest of the supercomputers will be built on Oracle, will be built with Oracle and include 100,000 of NVIDIA's new Blackwell chips. The system will support nuclear research, energy development, and national defense initiatives. On the same day, NVIDIA also unveiled new partnerships with Nokia. Yeah, that Nokia, the 3210 phone producer from back in the day, Snake, probably the first game that a lot of you played on your phone. Yes, that one, ticker NOK, to advance 6G networks. It also had one with Uber and Stellantis on autonomous vehicles and with Palantir to enhance logistics and AI infrastructure for government and enterprise clients. So I know the joke's been made. NVIDIA basically turning into Oprah and handing out billion-dollar deals to everybody. I looked for mine this morning, couldn't find it. I will take producer suggestion and check my couch cushions and see if I can find it in there. I'll let you know if I do end up finding that. Huang's comments come as Washington continues to restrict exports of NVIDIA's most advanced AI chips to China, citing national security concerns. Beijing, in turn, has reportedly urged major firms such as ByteDance and Alibaba to stop purchasing NVIDIA hardware and turn to domestic suppliers like Huawei and Cambricon. Earlier this month, Huang revealed that NVIDIA's market share in China has plunged from 95% to zero. Quote, they've made it very clear they don't want NVIDIA to be there right now, end quote. Huang goes on to say, I hope that will change in the future because I think China is a very important market. I also think that that's going to change in the future, and I suspect that's going to change sooner rather than later. NVIDIA has also excluded China-related sales from its financial forecast. That is not news. We've known about that for some time here. Huang praised Trump's America First agenda for boosting domestic chip production on Tuesday. He noted that NVIDIA is manufacturing in Arizona with Taiwan Semiconductor and assembling systems in Texas and California. God, I'm old enough to remember when I was told we couldn't do that here. How about that? But he contended that NVIDIA requires access to roughly $50 billion in potential sales from China to finance its U.S.-based research and development and sustain the company's competitive edge. So we'll see what NVIDIA does here. You can see the NVIDIA is still one of the powerhouse stocks, obviously, biggest stock now by market cap. Extremely good ranking here on quality, growth, and momentum. Not much there in value, but all of the trends are intact, and it sure looks like, based on the chart we just looked at, NVIDIA is breaking out and trying to make a move higher. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Why on earth would they invest in Nokia? Let's break that down here. Nokia jumped on Tuesday after NVIDIA agreed to invest $1 billion for a 2.9% stake and partner on AI networking. The move brings in fresh capital to Nokia to deepen cooperation between the firms in artificial intelligence and high-performance connectivity. Nokia said the funds will support the broader strategy and strengthen its product roadmap for the upcoming AI supercycle. The key note here is that they're saying this is coming as if it's not already here. I know a lot of us have been talking about the AI supercycle, or at least the AI cycle, for some time now. Looks like these folks think it's not even really here yet. The announcement also landed as mega-cap tech kept building momentum. Apple and Microsoft both climbed on Tuesday, pushing each other above the $4 trillion market cap, and NVIDIA remained the world's most valuable company at more than $4.6 trillion. That did, in the pre-market here today, again, surpass the $5 trillion threshold. Nokia's board approved the issue of more than 166 million new shares. NVIDIA will pay $6.01 per share, subject to standard closing conditions. After the settlement, NVIDIA will hold roughly 2.9% of Nokia's stock. The newly issued shares are expected to begin trading in Helsinki, Paris, and New York once regulatory steps are completed. The partnership also arrives alongside the launch of NVIDIA Arc Aerial RAN Computer, a 6G-ready platform built for the next generation of telecom workloads. Nokia plans to add a new AI RAN product to its global access portfolio based on NVIDIA's platform. T-Mobile is working with both companies to integrate the AI RAN into its 6G development program, opening the door to smarter network automation and enhanced customer experiences. Dell Technologies will supply Power Edge servers to power the joint AI RAN offering. Industry executives say the collaboration marks a shift towards AI-native 6G by pushing AI RAN into real-world commercialization at a global scale. Nokia expects faster development of 5G and 6G radio software on NVIDIA's architecture. The company also has plans to explore joint work in switching and optical gear for future AI data centers. NVIDIA's payment will go into Nokia's reserve for invested unrestricted equity. Nokia said independent legal and financial reviews supported the subscription terms and justified issuing shares without preemptive rights. Jefferies analyst Janardan Menon upgraded Nokia from hold to buy. According to Benzinga Pro, Nokia's stock has gained over 49% in the past year. Investors can gain exposure to the stock via the iShares Digital Infrastructure and Real Estate ETF. That's ticker IDGT if you did not want to buy Nokia outright. Okay, one more story here before we get to our favorite weekly guest, Tim Melvin. We're going to talk a little bit about Joby because Joby Aviation is taking off and soaring on an NVIDIA collaboration. Joby Aviation, ticker JOBY, shares spiked in Tuesday's after-hours session after it announced a collaboration with NVIDIA. NVIDIA selected Joby as its only aviation launch partner for the new NVIDIA IGX Thor platform, which is designed to power the next generation of physical AI applications. Just pausing right here real quick. I know we often get the question, which one do you like more, Archer or Joby? And there's people on both sides of that. I personally have been a fan of Archer, mostly because I'm familiar with it and I've traded it with some success. But here you go. Maybe this is something in the other side of the ledger there. Joby working with NVIDIA, maybe that gives it an advantage. I'd be curious. For any of you that are like actively trading the eVTOL or following this, I'd love to hear what you think about this partnership. The collaboration also aims to advance development of Joby's Super Pilot autonomous flight technology across military and civilian platforms. The company said NVIDIA integration will help transform operational safety and mission capabilities. Who among us is ready to jump into an autonomous flying air taxi? No, I'm not. I won't even get into the autonomous car. Forget taking off. Quote, the autonomous systems under development at Joby are poised to complement human intelligence by providing speed, precision, and stamina beyond what a person alone is capable of. That came from Gregor Vibel-Micic. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Flight research lead at Joby. Goes on to say, quote, to achieve this, an aircraft needs a powerful onboard computer that can interpret extraordinary amounts of information and make decisions in real time, end quote. The collaboration is expected to enable real-time onboard capabilities, including autonomous mission management, radar and perception processing, sensor function, predictive system monitoring, and digital twin modeling. The announcement comes amid NVIDIA's ongoing GTC event in Washington, which wraps up today. So let me know what you think about that in terms of Joby. I think what I really would like to know is, does this change your opinion on the Joby versus Archer debate? Like, does this move to the other side of the ledger? Brandy here, I have a few shares of Archer, but the news for Joby is good for it. I like the Archer vehicle better, not getting in one though. Brandy, I think I could probably agree with literally everything that you just said there, especially that last part. I too am not getting in one. Tenzin says Joby seems more polished. Ryan says I can fly it. If I can fly it, I might die in it. Okay, that's not great. Johnny says this pushes me more towards Joby. Okay, good stuff there. This is interesting to me. This is definitely interesting to me. Day Trader, you had said earlier, sorry I missed this. Archer is greater than Joby in my opinion. I still think that I'm there, although I do agree with Brandy. This is really good news. Zach says Joby always had a long-term execution plan. Looks like it's playing out. Joby works with Uber. Okay. And then Brian says, oh boy, did I cover my Joby short in the nick of time. Brian, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, it turns out. And also, the harder you work, the luckier you get. But I digress. All right, folks, it's Wednesday. We're going to go back to Pro here real quick. I hope that y'all are ready because it is time for the one and only Tim Melvin. Let's go ahead and say good morning to him. Bring him on. Tim, Good morning. How are you doing, boss?
Oh, just getting off to a flying start down here. The wife has been gone down in Texas for coming up on 10 days. The dogs and I have not yet starved, but it's come
That's good
close.
news.
It's come close on a couple of occasions, but
Let
thank
me ask you.
goodness.
Let me ask you something unrelated to the market and work here,
Sure.
at least to start. Did you make the 18 inning baseball World Series game? Did you
No,
stay
I
up
did.
for that?
No, I did not. It's it just had to look and feel one of those games that was gonna keep going, and you know, discretion being the better part of valor, I gave up and went to bed. But what a great game! What a great series so far. I
Yeah.
mean, Toronto is not going gently into that good night.
And thankfully, I personally, like I said, I'm rooting for Toronto here. I am a Canadian fan for this World Series. I was very pleased to see them tie the series up. Let me ask you another question here, real quick. You've
Yes.
watched baseball for longer than I have, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Just to be clear, have you ever seen a player that is as good as Shohei Ohtani?
No.
Because to
No.
me, this is
No.
the best player I've ever seen, and it's not particularly close.
It is not particularly close. It's just the ability. I've seen hitters that are better than him. I've seen pitchers that are better than him. Okay, not many of either, by the way. But this guy's doing them both. That's just absolutely stunning. And I know people say Babe Ruth, Babe Ruth. He's already done this for a lot longer than Babe Ruth did
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, uh, yeah, if you're not appreciating what you're watching with Shohei Ohtani, you don't understand the game of baseball really that well because it is just simply phenomenal.
Yeah.
Those of you that are angry that he took the big contract from the Dodgers and just made them a big money better team, what would you do if you were Shohei Ohtani? Right? Was there really a choice there? That was a huge check. LA feels like home to him, right? Because it's a
He
huge
moved across
population.
the state and immediately went to the World Series, which was his goal. I mean,
Well,
this was the
yeah,
best move
didn't
possible
really
for him.
didn't even really move across the state. He moved over to the next county. So,
There you
but
go.
yeah, I mean, of course Otani's going to be on the biggest team. Just be glad he's not on the Yankees, unless
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. I was gonna say, as a Baltimore Orioles fan, I bet that's right.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, come on, as an anybody but a Yankees fan.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Really good stuff there. Hope you enjoy the rest of it. What do you got for us here today? It's Fed Day, right? It's so
Well,
I'm
so
assuming
I
you've
mean,
pulled the cork on the bottle of wine. You're ready to
no,
go.
so what? I mean, does anybody here think the Fed's going to do something different besides
No.
a
In fact, if
baseball
we were
thing?
just talking about Fed Watch Tool says 99.9%. Tim, I don't think we're seeing any surprises today.
No, it's the jobs numbers were weak. They can live with the inflation numbers. The political pressure is epic. Yeah, of course you're going to cut 25 basis points. Now, write this down so you can throw it in my face later. It's a massive mistake. Okay, when you look at where the real interest rates are, the real number right now, by my research and math, and that without too much tends to be pretty good, is 4.24%. We can't go a hell of a lot lower here. Now, right now, the economy is not restrictive. If you look at the National Financial Conditions Index put together by the people at Ryan's favorite Fed there in Chicago, um, it, conditions are actually quite loose and accommodating, and we're putting fuel on the fire. Now, I understand that there is pressure in the jobs market, and the jobs market is weakening. However, if you take a good look at what's going on in the jobs market, it's government layoffs, it's tech companies fight like Amazon's biggest layoff ever was announced this week, right? It has absolutely nothing to do with the strength or quality of Amazon's business. In fact, Amazon's business is great. It has to do with protecting margin and the fact that they're replacing a lot of those jobs with technology. That's what's going on, and lower interest rates won't do it to stop it. I used a whole bunch of words there in the middle. Use your imagination.
I figured it out. I saw all the words there, but I'm like, boy, I'm glad there's no audio for this. That's
But
helpful.
yeah, we have a pretty big. I have a pretty big database. I keep saying it's the mythical we. Um, have a pretty big database of financial data and information. And we've kind of plugged it in, and we ran all the various academic and formulas and from this university and that Fed and this economist and to predict real interest rates. What we found was the best measure of real interest rates was the long-term average of real short-term interest rates. So we've got 42 years of data going back to 1982, and that rate is 1.24%, which comes in at pretty much the median level of all of the more sophisticated models. Okay, so when we take that, we add the 3% inflation we just saw reported, we get a 4.24. The linchpin on all of this, Ryan, as far as Fed funds and the economy and interest rates has been, and will continue to be energy prices, right? Energy prices for the last, 18 months have been a gift. They really have. They've been lower. Production rates have been fairly high. The Saudis turned their production back on. A little bit less demand coming out of China. Anything that changes energy prices higher in a meaningful, sustained fashion is going to become very quickly an inflation problem. So anyway, that's just comments on the Fed day, but no, it's going to be a quarter basis point, and then we'll all go back to immediately discussing who the next Fed chair will be and exactly how many Blackwell chips China will buy.
Okay, real quickly here, Lion is saying Tim would be a great host of a radio talk show. Tim, if you end up going down this road, I'd like to throw my hat in to be a co-host or at minimum a guest with you. That would be a lot of fun. Producer here says the Tim Melvin radio show would probably be my favorite radio show ever.
Well, here's your challenge now to the big hosts at Benzinga who actually have this platform. Guys, Ryan and I want to do a radio show. Make it happen. There we go. Write your bosses, guys.
Okay. Well, one thing, well, I can't put together a radio show for you on the spot. Here's what I can do. We are doing a webinar tonight. On volatility and momentum. So if you do want to hear more of Tim and Anne-Marie, who should be there for that, go ahead and scan this QR code here. The producer should have also pinned the registration to that webinar, which is free, by the way, at the top of the chat. So if any of you are interested, join us tonight. Shortly after the market closes. All right, Tim.
All right,
what do you got for us?
We've been hanging around all week. The wife's gone. Been watching a little bit of baseball. Read a lot of spy novels. Have bit the dust around here in the last week. A couple of westerns. Got a little bit of nonfiction reading done. And we've done a lot of studying and testing. Just tons and tons of good stuff going on around here. And I keep saying we. It's just such a habit over the years, and now it's just me. Just kind of hanging out here. Ran a big study on insider buying. And what we wanted to look at was, what are the excess returns from the larger insider purchases? And we're looking at 6 figures and percent of market cap and otherwise how to measure them. And it comes up with some really interesting data. It's like, first off, large insider buys are usually a function of market conditions. Right. And by the way, they'll also tend to mark a bottom. When you see massive insider buying, you're getting close to bottom. So we saw spikes in 2008, 2009, obviously, the 2011 debt downgrade correction, temper tantrum in 2018, and in March 2020, we saw a bunch of insider buying. And insider buying, as you can imagine, during bad periods, has massive excess returns. It's huge, like 15 percentage points, 1 year out, 25, 2 years out. So it makes a difference. The excess returns over a period of time from tracking and piggybacking on insider purchasing, it's enormous. You would think it would go away because of the time arbitrage element. People can now instantly act on it. And the fact that they can doesn't mean that they do. They're too busy worrying about how many Blackwell chips China's going to buy from NVIDIA. They're too focused on the short term and the noise in the news right in front of them. So things like insider buying, that's for sissies and old people, so they ignore it. And this has been going on for a while. Okay. Now, interestingly, because I saw a couple of huge insider buys come across the screen last week, I'm like, wow. I mean, and they were like $1 million plus. Like, okay, that's a massive insider buy near what, a very elevated market level. So what is going on there? And that's what spiked this whole study. Um, what what is going on there, and what's the excess return from massive purchases anywhere near a bull market top? Which maybe we're there, maybe we're not, but let's go back and look and see what's happened in history. Actually, you still have excess positive returns. So when you and there's been another study that I think I've talked about on the show that shows when you see insiders buying near 52-week highs, right? These are not your normal my stock is too cheap and I love my
Yeah.
company and things are going to get better and I know it and my credit's good so I'm going to buy a lot of stock. Right? This is I have inside information about something that's going on. I have not illegal inside information, but non-public information about plans, not takeover talks or anything illegal like that. It would immediately get you locked up, but just plans and directions of the future, things going on in the industry, things that the industry outsider is not really thinking about, but the guy inside the company in the boardroom, he is seeing. So he has non-public material information that is causing him to say, I don't care if my stock's going higher. I'm going to go ahead and jump on this bandwagon. So where was it? It's in two really interesting areas. First is we've got Cohen and Steers. We saw 2.8.
What was the ticker?
CNS.
CNS.
Right. This is a $2.8 million purchase by the chairman of the board. And he made that just last week. So
October 22nd, Tim.
And I don't care who you are. I mean, $2.8 million is not a check you write without thinking about it. Okay.
Nope.
So now what do these guys do? Well, they're asset management in real estate. Now, real estate has been transferred over to the insider buying level, right? It's for old people and sissies. Nobody buys real estate and REITs and all that anymore. These guys are doing closed-end funds. They're doing institutional quality, portfolios. They're doing information services, but primarily it's listed real estate securities, listed infrastructure companies, natural resources stocks. $2.8 million. They are looking out and they're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, that KKR is seeing, that Apollo's been talking about, and that is we're going to see sustained rallies in energy, in infrastructure, real assets, and yes, there's a Santa Claus, and the real estate recovery is real. When you talk to the people on the credit side of the real estate business, they're getting real comfortable with what they're seeing. None of them are rushing to make a loan on a 40-year-old office building in Midtown Manhattan. They don't want that loan. They're not rushing to make loans on rent-controlled properties anywhere in America. They don't want that loan. New apartment complexes, new office towers that are Class A or trophy, you're going to make them all day long. Industrial properties, open-air shopping centers, they're going to make those loans. And from a REIT perspective, all the areas that I just talked about are really cool and interesting. Okay, including trophy office properties. They're getting ridiculously cheap. So the fact that the CEO, chairman of the board of this company is going to write such a large check confirms my bullish bias towards real estate.
Okay.
Now, here's one, and I know this company, and I like this company a whole bunch. I always have. FTI Consulting, the symbol's FCN. We've got the CEO, chairman, and president stepping up and buying $1.1 million worth of stock, literally just the other day. These guys are forensic accounting and investigation services, all right? If there is a legal trial, a lawsuit, political suits, reputational suits, bankruptcies, forensic accounting to find the bad guy on government, corporate levels. Who are you going to call? You're going to call FTI Consulting. They're involved in all of this. They do a lot of litigation consulting, particularly on big financial cases. Lots of the government uses them to audit some clients. Some clients use them to audit the government. I mean, there's not too many aspects of we need outsiders to get in here and dig the money up because we think somebody's doing something bad. Okay.
Tim, real quick, I'm looking at our insiders chart here. The last time that this guy bought this stock was in 2017. He paid $34 for it.
Yeah, and look,
And
guys,
he just bought 1.13 million of it at 151.
and if the economy, there's all kinds of reasons why these guys are going to, see a pickup in business. Default rates in the high yield market have been very low. That changes, these guys get busy. Okay. And if the economy slows meaningfully, they're going to pick up. The number of lawsuits going back and forth between companies and the government right now is, it's getting up there. So there's lots of opportunities for these guys to see a big pick up in business. Clearly, maybe there's even something else going on that we don't know about, some new line of business, some new transformative transaction that's in the early stages. But to see him write $1 million check, and as Ryan said, the last time they bought a lot of stock, the stock kind of did well in the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
So these big purchases, you want to pay attention to these, regardless of market conditions, right? Now, there's going to be a lot more of them, and they'll be wildly profitable when you do them near market bottoms. You can also use that information to track market, the likelihood of a market bottom or really a market top. When you see insider buys dry up and blow away to zero and it's not mid-earnings season, look out. Now, when somebody comes to you in the middle, like the fourth week of earnings season, says, wow, insider buying has really slowed down compared to last month, please keep in mind the insider window is closed. That is meaningless information. Right. There is a window around those transactions where they can't do anything. So it's usually 30 days on either side. So that will tend to kind of slow stuff down. Okay, so anyway, that's just something I wanted to point out to you. There's not a lot of other just massive buys like that. There are some relative size buys that we're seeing in companies like Sportsman's Warehouse, SPWH, where you've got a low six-figure buy, but it's a really small company. BRT, the Gold family, continues to buy millions of dollars of stock. Eventually, they will take that thing private. Let's see, ADC Realty, Agree Realty. Sorry about that. Is a net lease. It's your Walgreens, your Starbucks, your standalone real estate properties all over the country. It's a great business. So seeing the heavy insider buying we've seen in that recently also puts that onto my radar screen. Even though insider buying and real estate, now you have the double old people and sissies combo, which I may start a portfolio just based on old people and sissies because, old people got to be old because they lived a long time and made a lot of money. And I'm, sissies tend not to get killed or run over. And sometimes the important part of making money as a long-term investor is surviving to be a long-term investor.
You got that right.
So now,
real quick here, Tim, Michelle's asking, hey, Tim, what countries are safe to invest in when you're buying international stocks?
Well, it's funny you asked that because that's going to be one of our next topics. But I will tell you that depending on your risk tolerance, I really only exclude mainland China and Russia.
Okay.
If the markets are split between emerging and developed, if you are more comfortable in really safe rule of law countries, then stay with the developed nations. And it's pretty easy to find a list of those, but they're exactly who you think they are.
Yeah.
Right. If you would feel good going there and walking down the street of the downtown at midnight, it's a developed country.
And then one more question. I got one more question for you. One question here from one of the viewers. I'm new and it might sound silly. Nothing is silly. We're here to raise the tide for everybody, no matter your experience level. How can we know which tickers insiders bought? Now, Brian gave you a suggestion there about Googling. It is worth noting that we actually have a tool in Benzinga Pro, which is the platform that we share here every day, that will give you some of this information. This tool here defaults to multiple insider buys. So this pane here is showing you insider buys when there is more than one of them. There's a bunch of other buckets here, including all insider purchases, penny stock buys, insider purchases above 25K. There's all types of different insider tools here, but Brian gave you some other options if you did not have a subscription.
Ryan and I could do a whole webinar on just the insider tool because it identifies types of buying and an exercise option.
And you know what, Tim? Maybe we will at some point. Maybe we will
because I think that's a great idea. So there's lots of places.
And
I write a column called Alpha Buying that comes out every week. I think that comes out on Thursdays. Matter of fact, this week's column features the two companies that I just gave you an early look at, so you don't need to read that one. But most other weeks we look at insider and institutional buying of note that we think have a probability of making you money. So that's right on Benzinga Edge.
Yeah, and I was just going to say Benzinga Edge. So speaking about Benzinga Pro, which is the platform that I share here all the time, this is a really good time to remind you that if you have a Pro subscription, you also have access to Benzinga Edge. Here's a look at the Benzinga Edge page, and in the market intelligence feed is the alpha buying report that Tim just told you about. And this is last week's. Tim was kind enough to give you a couple off of the new one that's not even out yet.
Right.
So pretty cool there, but lots of awesome content here. Don't sleep on Tim's perfect stock portfolio and easy income portfolio too. Those things are absolutely crushing the market right now. Okay, Tim, I've got one more. I know you had an agenda here.
That's okay. I'd rather have the questions. That's fine.
Yeah. So I do have another question here from one of our viewers. I didn't get permission to mention this person's name, so I'm just going to do it anonymously here. I just started reading, and again, I just started reading Jim Cramer's new book. He says to match invested dollars in stock with an index fund. So if you're going to invest money in stock, you should also match that with money invested in an index fund. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I wonder why he never did
it. Okay, there you go.
I mean, look, and I worked for Cramer for 10 years. I think Jim Cramer's a good guy. I think what he's done to raise the level of discussion and awareness about stocks is fantastic. Okay. Tell me what day it is in what year of what century as to whether or not having half of the money in the index fund is a good idea or not. Right? Because having half your money or even all of your money in an index fund starting in 1999 sucked. I mean, that's a highly technical term, but it didn't work. Right? You didn't make any money. Mm-hmm. Fine if you're 20. It's really a huge negative outcome if you're 55, leaving you in a bad spot. And during that period, when all that money in the index fund would have done exactly zippity doo-dah, right? Owning, I don't know something. Let's just pick something random. Small community banks trading below book value would have given you, solid double-digit, actually large gains over that same decade. So would have owning a small cap value. And Ryan, you know what else would have done extremely well coming out of the aftermath of 1999? Real estate investment trusts.
So REITs are the way to go. Okay.
Well, REITs are not always they did well coming out of 2009, but
it's based on timing, and if you time it right.
If you time it right. Well, look, REITs since 1972, when Sam Zell and some other guys kind of completely transformed the overall REIT landscape, changing the tax codes, turning them into pass-throughs and all of that good stuff. REITs have outperformed the S&P 500, by a pretty good margin with a little bit lower volatility. Don't go completely to sleep on REITs ever. Anytime everybody hates REITs, you should be looking at buying the really good ones. Okay, somebody asked about CVS, and I'm not quite sure what they're asking about. I mean, the stock has done okay. It has had certainly a tremendous year this year with over 90%. CVS has been smarter than all of its competitors. Okay. They got into the pharmacy benefit management business. They got into the clinics. They partnered with insurance companies. I can walk into my CVS. I can get tests for the COVID and the flu and the RSV, and I can get the medications. And there's all sorts of other treatments I can get in the clinics inside the CVS. Walgreens really kind of fell asleep at the switch. They didn't do all the same things that CVS did. They're way behind now. So yeah, CVS has been a great stock, and it's sold off way too much several times, and the stock has done real well. However, I wanted to buy CVS, and I would be a buyer of CVS after said fall down, go boom event. Okay, I mean, if you look at last December going into January, the stock was under 45, trading at extremely low multiples of earnings, where everybody thought the entire business was going to go out. And this is, whenever I hear that an industry is going to die and it's going to go away. Now, if it's something like CD-ROMs, I can see that that's going to happen, and we're not going to stop using pharmaceuticals. Right, the drugstores are not going away. So when I can identify a clear best-in-class company in an industry that's out of favor, you have to buy that industry. And in this case, after that sustained downturn coming out of the top in 2021, CVS was clearly that company. Now, am I going to chase it higher here? No, I'm not. I mean, it's at a multiple where I don't really have that much of an interest in the interest of fair play and fair policy. Most of the time, large cap stocks, I'm really not that interested in mega cap stocks unless the market's crashing. Okay. When Kramer is in danger of having a heart attack live on national television, like he was in early 2009, then I want to start buying some stocks. Right. When I stop by Skid Row and I see my stockbroker hanging out in the back alley, passing around a bottle of Ripple with the boys, I want to buy stocks. Okay. So, that's what I want to buy, large cap stocks. So now, speaking of which, we've been in a ridiculous large cap rally. Okay. And we're going to run out of time. So I don't, from owning a liquor store that was leased from a REIT, they're ruining small business slowly. Look, if you have a landlord, it didn't matter if it was a REIT or the doctor on 3 corners over or who owned it. Okay. The rent changes were going to be the same. The regulatory changes were going to be the same. It's not the REIT's fault. Liquor stores are one of those businesses like bars. You want to make sure you always make a gazillion dollars in those businesses. Own the building. Right. I was involved in owning a bar once in a prime location in Annapolis, Maryland. And had we owned the real estate, we'd have all gotten dirty rich off of that. We did not, in fact, get dirty rich. The landlord did really well. So that's an own the real estate thing on a small liquor store. It got nothing to do with who actually owned the property. So anyway, last 5 years been the mega cap rally. American dominance, American wonderful. You want to own large, you want to own American, you want to own technology. PEs don't matter. Value is dead. Anybody disagree with any of those statements?
I think PEs still matter, but I know I'm in the minority there.
Okay. Now, and you know what really doesn't matter? And you can read about this all the time. I mean, anybody that's using price to book value is just an idiot. They're stone cold moron, right? I mean, what the hell? It's NVIDIA. It's intangible values. It's why would you care about something that's arcane and archaic and stupid as price to tangible book value? That died with Ben Graham, for goodness sakes, back in 1976. Well, see, as Paul Harvey used to say, then there's the rest of the story. Over the last 5 years, you have made more money in small cap, deep value than you would have made in the S&P 500 with all of the big tech names. And it's not even close, by the way. Okay. Now, when we go in, I just happen to have the last 5 years returns, just happen to have them running. They accidentally popped up while we were talking.
It's amazing how that happens.
It's amazing how it happens. Over the last 5 years, now in 2020, small cap, deep value, the way I'm going to teach you to practice it this morning. Most of you are going to ignore me. I appreciate that. I don't really want the competition, but I have to fill some airtime. So in 2020, small cap, deep value only did 8.5% compared to the S&P's 16. Okay. S&P, as you remember, came roaring back as money poured into passive strategies, which again, you're in a crash. That's a smart thing to do. 2021, well, it shifted back the other way just a little bit as small cap, deep value returned 61% versus 26% for the S&P. So the S&P was great. Nobody's mad when you make 26.8% on your money. Right. However, small cap, deep value, the way I'm going to tell you here in a couple minutes, roared ahead, 61%. 2022, the S&P 500, well, turned out inflation wasn't transitory. Interest rates really could go higher. Dropped almost 20%, 19.4%. Small cap, deep value using this strategy was up 17. The next year, you're up about 24.23 in the S&P. Good numbers, hard to be upset. Unless you run into your neighbor who uses small cap deep value, he's up 38%. Last year, S&P 500 tech heavy had the edge, 23% versus 15.2 for small cap deep value. This year, small cap deep value is up, pulling ahead 21.17%. Net on net over the last 5 years, the small cap strategy using deep value, using price to book value as your determinant of value, is up 34.9%, more than double the S&P 500 on an average annual basis. So price to book value, not quite dead, Ryan. I know it's hard to believe that the old people and the sissies sometime gain the advantage, but sometimes we do. It's how we got to be old. So looking at this, and I'm looking at the list for today. Now, the criteria is real simple here, okay, because I wanted to make this easy to use. The models that I use in-house are a little bit more sophisticated on the credit side, but the picture is going to come out to be very close to the same thing. So what we're going to use is a Piotrowski F-score, which checks on nine points, okay? And Ryan, I didn't think about that. We can do this in Pro if you want to.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's what you wanted me to do.
Actually, we haven't. Well, we'll do it on price to book, but go ahead. A 7 and a 2 on Altman Z-score. So
wait. What was the value for the F score?
7, of course. We only use
7 to 9.
Right, and that's 9 different important balance sheet and financial statement checkpoints inside of there, and then there's 5 more checkpoints inside the Altman Z-score. So that's a 2. All right,
minimum of 2.
Yeah, see, that's the equivalent of a double B bond rating.
Got it.
Which is the average rating. So then we want just price to book value. I'm not sure if we have that in Pro yet, but I use price to tangible book value, and I am going to give you a couple stocks here before I cut too far into
price to book ratio.
Yeah, use price to book. I use price to tangible book because I don't like intangibles, but let's use price to book.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've just got this whole list of very cheap companies.
What filter are we putting in price to book, Tim?
Oh, one or less.
Sorry. One or less?
1 or less, yeah. I'm
okay,
cheap.
So we need a maximum of 1 there.
Yeah, and
for heaven's sake.
0.1 there, Ryan, please.
0.1 in the minimum value?
Yes, because otherwise you get shares with negative book value, and that's a whole different conversation. Okay, now there you've got a few interesting companies. You got Seaboard. I love Seaboard, and anytime you could, this is a tough stock to buy. It's like 3,500 a share, 3,900 a share now. Let me just check. 32.80 as of right this minute in time. This is a really cool collection of businesses, and it's an old value investor's favorite. Look, they own hog companies. They have biofuel, pork processing in the United States. They do grain processing and trading in Africa and South America, cargo shipping in the U.S., the Caribbean, although not Jamaica this week, unfortunately, Central and South America, sugar and alcohol in Argentina. That's about to pay off big. Electric power in the Dominican Republic. And here we go. It's coming up, the big day for this part of the company, right? They have a major equity method investment in, drum roll, everybody ready? Butterball.
Okay.
Okay. So they've got operations in pork, in chicken, in turkey, sugar, alcohol, just about, it's just this incredible conglomerate of businesses in the U.S., the Caribbean, and Central and South America. It is trading at a decent discount to book value. It's been around forever, heavily insider owned, doesn't trade a lot, but just over time, it has tended to reward shareholders with solid total returns, particularly if you're kind of smart about when you buy it. So that one makes your list. Now, I've got some smaller stuff on my list, Ryan, that I think that you're going to have on yours, just because I use some. I have an old guy at Sissy database that not necessarily in. Is that our? I can't really read the symbols as well as our Zim shipping.
Yeah, this is Rocky Brands, RCKY.
Yeah, so and Zim shipping, and again, you just buy that on big down days is when you buy Zim shipping.
Yeah.
Rocky Brands. This is shoes. right? Just a shoe company. They make Rocky, Georgia Boot, Durango, Lehigh, and Michelin footwear and apparel. They're in stores all over the place, and they have some outlet stores. It's in the booming metropolis of Nelsonville, Ohio. Now, I wanted to know, I want to wish I could meet the guy that founded this company. All right, this guy, this is the eternal optimist, right? This guy founded his company in Nelsonville, Ohio, which was probably not doing very well during the Great Depression, which was just getting started with a vengeance, right? You had the first attempt at recovery and collapse. Um, he started a shoe wear company in Nelsonville, Ohio in 1932. Now this company also does do some business with the U.S. military. They do some contract manufacturing. I'm going to assume that's Army boots. But it's just a great little business trading at a steep discount to tangible book value. It has, moderate discount to tangible book value. They have plenty of cash on hand. The credit situation is fantastic. They can keep their bills paid, trading at 12 times this year's earnings, 9 times what there's actually an analyst following this thing expected to make. And the one analyst that has commented on it recently just upgraded his price target to $40 a share. So it's not NVIDIA, guys. By the way, using AI in the manufacturing process and automation is going to make them more profitable over time. So they're like a third level beneficiary of AI and automation trends. So, it's a cool list of stocks. It's core to what I do, along with community banks. Personally, with the in-house Melvin family money, where my wife can kill me in my sleep if I mess up too badly. But the the returns from small cap deep value have always worked. Institutions cannot pile into Seaboard. They cannot pile into Rocky Brands. They can't buy great big massive blocks of Shoe Carnival. They can't buy a bunch of Richardson Electronics or Flanagan's Enterprises. I love Flanagan's Enterprises, and anytime this stock sells off, I shouldn't even give it to you. It's so small, but it's BDL. Now these guys, their whole business is based around the concept that BDL.
BDO is the ticker?
B boy David Larry, BDL.
BDL. God,
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no. This is based on the fact that people in South Florida drink a lot. Okay. They own small cocktail lounges and packaged goods stores all over South Florida. It's not a big company. It only trades, a couple thousand shares a day, but it is a fantastic business that trades at a pretty reasonable discount to book value. The stock is cheap. They have excellent credit profile. If you're going to buy some, use a limit order because it is real small, but we've actually done okay with that stock over the years.
Okay.
So small cap deep value has never stopped working. Kind of no matter what the big boys tell you, it stops working for the big boys. That does not mean that it no longer works for you and I. In fact, it works very well for you and I. Yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to go. I was going to cover foreign deep value, but you know what? 13's coming on, and he's got all the short-term get rich by the late afternoon from the stock surges. He's one of the best I've seen at it. So he's going to be far more entertaining than my lonely old and sissified self.
But that's okay, because you and I are going to have a webinar later today where people that are looking for that older sissified people, we can go ahead and do that here for you, Tim.
We can't go yet because there's a guy on here saying something nice about me. So we have to get to that. D8TR8R. That's
Day trader.
Day trader. Very good. He has pump on a watch list I saved with your picks here, up 27% this morning. So there we go.
All right. Timbo, good stuff again.
I will see you this afternoon at the pre-planning call, and then I will see you again tonight. You're going to be sick of seeing me, Ryan, but you guys have a great day, everybody. And large insider buying, small cap deep value, long term, you'll do, I think, better than the S&P 500, regardless of what Mr. Kramer has to say about it.
Okay, there we go. That is Tim Melvin. Tim, thanks, and it's impossible not to be tired of seeing you. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
That's not really a good thing that you just said.
That
It's impossible not to be tired of seeing you.
Okay, I meant that you're always entertaining.
I know what you meant.
Jesus. Tim, I'll see you later. All right, that's Tim, folks. He's trying to give me some shit on the way out there. That's okay. That's what he does. Be sure to sign up for our webinar and see what other shenanigans we can get into later. His departure leaves room for 13. We'll say good morning to 13. 13, hello. Good morning. Hello. How are you doing? Best in the business. What a compliment you just got there.
I did. I got to say thanks, Tim, for that wonderful compliment. And make sure everybody hits the like for Tim, because we don't have very many people like him. We need to keep him around.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Okay, really good stuff, and love the plug there. It's like you've done this before. I know we're about 5 minutes later than we normally start here, so let's get rolling.
Not a problem for Tim.
Not a problem for Tim. Love it. All right,
we're getting some PPB movement. PPBT movement right now. Sorry to run right in front of you, but this thing is kind of percolating a little bit. It's moving. It's making its way up towards a trend line that I'm sure you can see if you use the peaks from the pre-market already. It's making its way towards there. Now, I don't know if we're going to get a breakout through this and hold above that trend line that you just drew, or if we're going to end up falling out of this wedge, because this is an ascending wedge, and those can be bearish. So I just wanted to point this out. We might see this 134 again pretty soon. But this formation here, I think it's something that if you're going to trade in it, make sure you trade and get out, because these can be bearish formations. Just so you're aware. But let's move back into a little bit more of a calm state here.
We were actually watching this while we had Tim on here. So I think it was Cam that had mentioned this in the chat on this impulse move that took us to that high at about 133. Nice little move back from the VWAP. Since then, we've tested it. Looks like it's bouncing again. 13, the trend line's added. I'll add it on the other workspace when we get over to that. The catalyst here, Purple Biotech shares are trading higher after the company achieved a commercially viable yield for IM 1240, positioning the program for future development. And a really quick check-in on the short interest here, negligible, 0.68% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover, comes on an average 100-day volume of just under 1 million shares. Today we've traded 127 million, the float here just shy of 9 million. All right, I'm going to roll over to the next stock here. I'm just going to start at the top of the list unless you have one.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add a little more color to PPBT here. So they do, like you said, they have 8.96 million shares in the float. They do have about 4 quarters worth of cash, but they did receive a NASDAQ bid price notification. So they are on notice from NASDAQ here. So I think that could be a future catalyst that they get, recompliance. But in order to get that, I think because this was trading underneath the dollar, they might have to go through a reverse split in order to achieve that minimum bid price requirement. So something that could happen here today makes me want to just say all the more reason not to stick around in this thing. Just get what you intend to get out of this, like just make your trade and then wait for the next setup. I don't think this is one that you want to stick around in.
Okay. Really good stuff there. PPBT, Purple Biotech. I'm just going to start at the top of the list going down here. Is that all right? Next one here is going to be CMBM. This is Cambium Networks. This stock made a high here about $3. We haven't come totally back into the VWAP. I do expect that here at some point, but so far so good it looks like on this one. They announced the integration of One Network with Starlink to optimize law enforcement satellite connections. Really quickly, this stock was 62 cents. The mention was Starlink, sent it up towards 3. Does look like we had some trouble getting through that 3 level here. 12.41% of the float shorted on this name with 7.88 days to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 227,000 shares per day. Today, we've done 200 plus million. No surprise there. Float is 12.8 million, so we've traded way more than the float here so far. What do you think on this one, 13?
Well, it's not looking great at the moment. Looks like it's starting to curl over here from all the excitement it had earlier this morning when it ran up to almost $3. The company has over a year's worth of cash, so I don't think that there's any potential share dilution happening here. But they did receive a delisting notice. I think it was earlier this month. Yes, it was because they also did not have their minimum bid price above $1. So and that went on for too long. So now they are receiving a delisting notice. So that could also be a future catalyst if they, manage to, regain that compliance. And that could be through the use of also a reverse split if they decide they're going to do that. But now that it's trading back above $1, they just need to maintain the price above the dollar for a certain period of time. I think it's 30 days, but I don't know if I'm right about that or not. But anyway, that's something that is happening. That's another thing that's happening with that. I don't think that they're going to do any capital raises, but again, when it comes to reverse splits, not something you want to be in when they do that. So another reason to not stick around in this one after you get the trade that you were looking for and getting out.
Okay. All right, good stuff there. CMBM. Next on the list here is ERNA. This is Ernexa Therapeutics. We had a nice pop right above 220. Come back in, retraced about 50% of the move, finding some support here at the 9 EMA. Looks like we blew right through the VWAP on the way back down, but tried to recapture it and couldn't. So that's one attempt here. That's notable. Quick peek at the short interest on this name, 0.67% of the float shorted. Negligible short interest there with negligible days to cover. On average, the stock has a ghost town, 88,000 shares. That's it. Today we've traded just shy of 30 million. We're going to hit that here before the open. Float on this 5.9 million. The news that we have here, Ernexa Therapeutics and CellPoint Biosciences enter cell therapy manufacturing partnership to focus on engineering, differentiation, and production to advance ERNA 101 towards clinical trials in ovarian cancer. So looks like we're getting a PR there about moving towards trials for ovarian cancer. What do you think on this one, 13? Think we get a trade here? Looks like it's trying to recapture the VWAP right now.
Yeah, it's making its way towards VWAP right now. There's a large seller in the way at 195. So that's just above my VWAP. So something to watch out for. This company is going to have to raise cash.
Okay.
So unlike the other ones we were looking at, this one actually really needs it. So we could get some kind of offering here as early as today. Didn't see anything else of note with this company. Didn't really have any news prior to today. It was, October 1st is the last piece of news, and that was regarding a meeting, an annual event. Anyway, this is out now, approaching its VWAP. Looking for 227 if we get past it, because that's where we were kind of topping out. We had those upper shadows, a series of upper shadows that spelled the downside and led the way down. So anyway, that's where I'd be looking next if we recapture VWAP. But just be careful with this one. The company does need money.
I have 270 as the next stop after that 220 area that you just gave there. But really good mention there. They need money. Looks like they're going to need to do that here pretty soon. All right, next we have MSAI. This is Multi-Sensor AI Holdings. This was a penny stock. It's just barely entered dollar territory here today, getting above the VWAP here in the pre-market. Looks like we did have an impulse high on some volume up towards 119, but it's really kind of come back. Last piece of news here, we had something on Friday. AI Executive Securities purchase agreement to raise the gross proceeds of about $14 million in a private placement of common stock and warrants. So that was the most recent piece of news here. I don't really have anything since then of note. Stock is trading up here on a little bit of volume here today. Short interest on this, again, really nothing here. 0.48% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover, comes on an average volume of 2.56 million. Today we've traded 8.7 million. Float here is 21.72 million. It is worth noting, it is worth noting that we did have some analyst coverage. We don't often have that on some of these stocks, but we do have it here. DeBoral Capital, as of October 17th, has a $3 price target and a buy rating slapped on this stock. 13, what do you think here, MSAI?
Well, now that they've announced that on Friday that they're going to have that 14 million private placement, that takes care of their cash issue that they were having. Now the stock is poised to open above the 200-day SMA, which is a good sign, seeing as how we two closes above it last week, and then this week we've been trading underneath it. So nice to see that recapture. As we make our way higher here, we're going to have to chew through some consolidation. It looks like we already did that on last Thursday. So don't think that this is going to really come into effect as much until we approach the 140 area. So we might see this, move a little bit better going into the open as we. It's just speculating here, but this might move a little bit higher into the open. And as soon as we get to like the 140 area, that's when I think you're going to start to see some heavier resistance. But we'll see if that ends up happening. The resistance levels that I see going higher than Thursday's candle are going to be 140, 180, and looks like I guess we could throw 220 in there as well. But there's also a little bit of a gap to fill between 220 and 240.
Okay, good stuff there. MSAI. Michelle asking a question here. We talk about this a lot. I guess we should just mention it because we do gloss over some of this. Michelle's saying, when you mention that a company needs money, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the stock? Just asking because you say be careful. So what we mean here, first of all, I'm going to take the first answer here. It really could be both a good thing or a bad thing for the stock, because the hope here is that the company is doing something. They might need some more money. They're going to offer more stock, get that money, and then apply that towards the business. That should, over the long term, be viewed as a good thing. The reason that we say be careful is because a lot of the times what this is some type of dilution event where there's just more stock for that same company that ends up driving the price down. The reason that we're saying this is because with all of these, in particular the movers, we have a very, very short time horizon on this. We're looking to buy the stock, have the stock go up today, and then sell it at a higher price. If several of you keep this overnight and then might want to sell it the next day or several days later, if you buy something that has a higher chance of if you buy a company that has a higher chance of raising money, you might see that dilution event sooner and you might just go underwater on your trade. So what 13 is trying to do is use all of the available information to him to determine what type of financial position the company is in, and then determine the likelihood at which they're going to dilute their stock in order to raise that capital. Some companies, it's worth noting, are able to raise capital in a way that's non-dilutive to the stock, which means that your shares aren't worth less just because there's more of them.
Like MSAI, which was a private placement, which means they're not going to dilute their shares in order to raise capital. But a lot of the times, the easiest and quickest way to do it is to just make an offering and price out more shares and sell them on the open market. That's how a lot of capital gets raised. And when I make these warnings, because when you have some of these events that take the stock price up higher, sometimes one of the ways they can finance their business is to do an at-the-market offering, which is what the current price is. So selling shares at a high price tends to work out pretty well for the company, not so much for you. So you don't want to be at these high price valuations when they do that offering. So that's why I make the suggestion to take your gains and don't stick around on these things, because you just don't know. You just don't know what their plans are unless you want to really dig deep and start calling the company, investor relations, and getting all this information, which you don't have time to. So I err on the side of caution, make the trade, get out, and look for something else. Yeah,
absolutely. Well said, 13. It's basically just trying to use all of the data that we have available to make the best possible decision in the given time frame. Jay here wants to add to this. It depends on the company. The shit names I'd avoid, but names like ASTS, dips get bought on offerings. Actually, we saw that with Ondas for a while too, right? Ondas, they were doing offerings and the stock was getting bought back up. I know it's on the downside of a move here, but that's another really good point there. Okay,
ASTS actually is bringing in revenue. A lot of these companies don't even have that. So that's what makes when a company like ASTS does an offering, that's kind of viewed as a little bit more favorable, because they're going to be, they already have revenue. They didn't need the cash, but they did in a sense to make their next step of their business operations be realized, and to just go ahead and continue your business and make money and try to do it that way with the cash flow that you have would take a lot longer. So that's why some companies like ASTS and Ondas will raise capital. But when it comes to biotechs that almost have no revenue, or just constantly,
they're raising money just to keep operations going.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. And then one more question here. Josh asking, can they do this at any point? For example, if you buy MSAI right at the open for $1, can they offer immediately after? So I actually don't know what the rules are for this. We see most offerings in the after hours. I feel like I would say if I had to rank them, I would say it would be after hours first, pre-market second, and then regular session in third on the list there. I don't know what the actual rules are. I would defer to somebody else that might know what that is, but we have occasionally seen offerings during the regular session.
Yep.
Most of the time they're going to wait for one of those extended sessions. And if the stock, think about it, if the stock has a 50% pop on a Tuesday morning, I'm just making up a day, and they wait for the entire session to finish, that Tuesday after hours is really the soonest time where they can deploy that offering and see if they can end up getting those shares bought. So I don't know what the rules are here. I'm sorry about that. I probably should know that. We've seen most of them in the after hours.
Yeah, and usually when they do any kind of offering during the regular session, they're going to halt it. They're going to halt it and then get that news out, and then it'll resume later on. But typically, you'll see the headline happen, and you'll see the stock react almost immediately when these things come out. So, and you kind of get an idea if they're going to do it or not based on the things that I've been telling you. We looked at how much cash they have on hand and what their cash burn rate is, and if they've raised capital since their last earnings. If the answer is no, likely they're going to have to do some kind of offering soon.
Okay. Really good questions there, group. Really good stuff. Next here is going to be Fubo. I know this is a popular one amongst the group. Where's Izzy at? I'm surprised. He should be excited here. Fubo TV popping.
He was saying it. He was saying it earlier. He told us. He was saying it. I saw that.
Earlier today. Did I miss him?
In the chat, he said if you scroll up like maybe 4 or 5 minutes, he said he's been saying this for months.
Okay, I don't see any posts from Izzy, but maybe I just missed it. Anyway, Fubo TV here. Fubo shares are trading higher after the company completed its business combination with Disney's Hulu Live TV Plus. This thing traded up, $480, it looks like, was right near the high. Fubo does have earnings here in 5 days. They're going to report Monday, November 3rd before the open, which means you probably need to be positioned on the Friday prior if you want to play it for earnings here. Nice pop. Stocks holding 21% higher on that news, 21.5%. 18.42% of the float is shorted on this name, and it has a days to cover of 4.87 days. On average, it trades about 15 million shares. Prior to the open here, we've already traded 12.2. And remember, the float on this one of the thicker ones in comparison to some of the smaller movers that we take a look at, 334.52 million. There's Izzy. There you go, Izzy. How you doing with this Fubo pop? How you doing? 13, what do you think here as far as a trade goes?
I'm kind of wondering why this isn't more of a sell the news event, because we've known for a long time that Fubo was, had a business combination with Hulu and Live TV going on. So this is just the announcement that this is now a done deal. It's great, and I think this is maybe more of a short squeeze than anything. But I feel like we might get some upside out of the gate, but I get the sense that this is going to be sold into. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong about that. This could maybe continues to squeeze. It's got almost 18.5% of the float shorted. I already knew about all this, so I'm just kind of wondering if maybe this gets sold into after it sees a short-term rally. Just a thought. Maybe this is just okay. So Smoke Tuna, this is a sell the news, but it needs to squeeze. Okay, so Smoke Tuna and I are kind of on the same page with this. Like, this seems like this is something that is going to get sold into. So if you got gains in this, maybe consider taking some off the table with how great this move has been. I don't know how far or much higher this is going to go. It could continue to squeeze, but it seems like so far the consensus here is this might be a sell the news event.
Okay. We'll see what we get here for Fubo. And then also really quickly here, we're just talking about dips and stuff. Jay here saying on Nokia after that NVIDIA investment, any dip I'm buying. Even bought some this morning. So there you go. Appreciate that, Jay. Always like those early calls prior. Okay, how much time do we have? 7 minutes here. Did you have anything else on your list that you wanted me to mention? Did we want to go over Bloom Energy, your cousin, or Teradyne?
I'll say Bloom Energy. This is one that we've traded and looked at before. It's this fuel cell company, fuel cell batteries for data centers, I believe is what their angle is. And this
was another one, by the way, where offerings got bought just because we had that conversation earlier.
And this has a really high valuation. And one of the things I was saying yesterday before they had earnings, because people were asking about it in Happy Hour chat, is like, we really need to see some of this valuation make sense. They're going to have to show that their business is growing, that the revenue that they've been saying that they're going to get from these contracts is starting to show up. And it did. That's exactly what was on the earnings report. That's why it went higher.
This was a huge one, right? I mean, we talked
big sales beat. This is what they absolutely needed to show, and they need to continue showing this.
Just 13's point here. Sales 519 million. The estimate was for 424. Yeah. So a lot of that hype. That's a really good point, 13. I'm glad that you mentioned a lot of hype that was in there. Ended up bleeding through to the bottom line, which is something we talk about all the time. Also, look, slew of price target changes today. Clear Street went to 50 from 43, LOL. JP Morgan went from 90 to 129, BMO Capital 97 to 136, and Susquehanna 105 to 157.
Yeah, so this is going to be data centers are going to continue to be a little bit of a hot topic. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more of the stocks that make the data centers actually happen, like construction and
the picks and shovels for data center. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
So this is going to potentially be one of them as they do make the fuel cells, hydrogen fuel cells for battery backups for data centers.
Okay. The last one here that I'm going to mention, then we can flip over to the main workspace here, is going to be Teradyne. Teradyne shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q3 financial results and issued strong Q4 guidance. Teradyne provides testing equipment, including automated test equipment for semiconductors, system testing for hard disk drives, circuit breakers, and electronic antenna, and wireless testing for devices. So this is obviously a very hot theme here. They reported strong quarterly earnings as well. Really quickly, EPS of 85 cents beat the 79-cent estimate, and sales of 769 million beat the 743 and change million estimate. So top and bottom line beat here. Stocks trading up by about 18%. This is what the chart looks like here. Stocks at 170. All right. So it actually took out this high we made from July of 2004. This was looking like this might be a triple top. We're kind of right in the same area, although we did take that out. So that's notable as well. Quick look at the short interest on this name. 6.34% of the float shorted with 2.79 days to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 3.99 million shares. Today we traded about 700,000. So I know it's not huge over its average volume. I still expect this to trade above its average by the close here today. 142 million shares in the float here. Jay also has a view on this. Jay says, Teradyne, this is the sweet spot. It sells chips with robotics exposure. So, Jay, it looks like you're going to see what you are forecasting here, more, hopefully, quality earnings reports. I wish I owned some, but I will look for dips if it gets any. Jay, the only thing that I would like to follow up with you on this is, do you have any levels that you're looking at? Like, do you put orders out at all at any particular level, or are you waiting for this to pull back and watch the price action? Let us know. Like that, though. 13, how about you? You have anything here on Teradyne?
Well, I was just kind of looking around with this thing, and I saw that Goldman Sachs earlier this month had a sell rating on this, and it seems like they're the only ones in that crowd that think it's a sell. So I'm kind of looking around here for reasons why they think that, and I get the sense that they expect this to come in because we're approaching or we've hit the high from January of 2022, so we could be at a top here. Now and also if you look at a weekly chart, this thing is just in a monthly chart. This thing has been on an absolute tear since April, as so many stocks have.
Teradyne's on a tear, you say, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly it. But I'm a little concerned about how extended it has become on the weekly chart. And I think that following these earnings here, this would be a pretty good spot to start taking gains off the table. So I get the sense that maybe there is going to be some coming back in. Now, if that happens, I do see some pretty big support around 140.
Okay,
so,
awesome. Jace is looking for low 130s. So there you go. Okay. Two targets here on tear. Low 140. What did you say? 140?
I said 140 is
140. He said
area.
low 130. So there you go. There's your support area for this stock, if you like this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is going to have to come back in, and we might see a lot of that happen today. Like I said, I'm citing how extended it is on the weekly chart. I do think this thing needs to cool off a little bit. And if it does come down to that 130, 140 area, that would be a pretty sweet spot to pick some of these up.
Okay. Sweet. Wasn't Teradyne mentioned in the Wall Street movie back in 87? I don't recall that. That would be a funny trivia question. That I don't know the answer to that, Albert. That would be something. If any of you know for sure, let me know. You're making me want to go back and watch Wall Street. Real quickly here. Yes, that girl says NEM was the final trade on CNBC yesterday. That's Newmont Mining. It's AEM that reports tonight, right?
Aerotine is a Wolf of Wall Street company.
Aerotine. Okay.
Aerotine International.
But that's Wolf of Wall Street. He's talking about the movie Wall Street with Charlie Sheen.
Okay, I didn't get any. I can try and dig deeper, but you know what? Okay, so Jay already got it. It's Teldar Paper.
Teldar Paper. Okay. In any case, Newmont here. This was the final trade on CNBC. I guess that's notable here. They reported earnings, didn't they? Yeah, October 23rd, they reported earnings. Okay, we are open. Let me go over to the main workspace here.
It's just funny how we'll even do fictional research too.
That's just how we do here.
ERNA. This looks like this is okay. So this went up to the top area there around the 120s. Just before, about 15 minutes before we opened. So we did get that movement up. It went as high as 237. And then we went sideways. Now we're open. We're starting to leak here. That's ERNA. PPBT. This isn't doing a whole lot except getting some support from the VWAP. Let's see if this can continue to hold support here and move higher. This is the rising wedge that I cautioned about. So we're starting to get some fallout from this. So at the very least, as far as upside goes, we might get a back test of the trend line, the bottom part of the wedge, before we go lower. But right now, this is looking like this eventually will be going underneath the dollar again.
Looks like Teradyne here, first move out of the gate is higher. So, and Jay, it doesn't look like you're getting your dip, at least not early.
CMBM is halted to the upside, barely moved before that started going. Got support from the VWAP there. Wow. It's a nice move in IDAI. It's almost at $5.
Oh, nice. I didn't even look at that. Did we get... I made a prediction that I thought, based on what we were seeing with some of the other stocks here, that we might get news. Did we get anything?
I don't...
No, it doesn't look like... This just looks like trading action here.
Rigetti is heading lower, so RGTZ is heading higher. It's at 1650 now.
That was such a good trade yesterday.
Oh, it was fantastic. Wednesday.
So Trust Stamp joins Founders Arena to accelerate its financial services growth. It did get news here today. You know what? When I get a chance, I actually want to go through this PR, because one of the things that we've been talking about, they actually have a deal with some financial institutions. And if they're talking about growing that, this company is going to just exponentially grow in size if that's the case. I'll read this when I have a little bit more time. That's good. Thank you for mentioning that, 13. I definitely want to take a look at that. Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, so ERNA still having a hard time with VWAP. MSAI, this thing has kind of been back and forth so far out of the gate. Waiting for CMBM to unhalt. PPBT, we're starting to trade up towards that bottom part of the trend line, where I anticipate we're going to get a back test. Now, whether we fall back or get back into the wedge, don't think that's going to happen, but I still think that we're going to at least back test it or try to. And then
VC approaching its VWAP here. Good mention here from the chat. Kathy and Smoked Tuna look like they're on this. 145 is the VWAP that I have. We'll see if we get through it there.
So this was a mover from yesterday.
Yep.
And looks like we had some good pre-market movement, but okay, so PBBT is still climbing.
I've got the VWAP at the same thing in my broker as well, by the way. We'll see if we can get above that. Here we go. Stock at VWAP right now.
So we might get to some resistance at 150. There's a seller in the way there. And earlier this morning, that's where the price ran up to before it was rejected. So big resistance at 150 that we're going to need to see some volume to get through.
Okay. We'll see if we get that. see if we get that. VC looks like it's going through. I'm not going to chase it through the VWAP, but we shall see. Fubo, good volume. Same with ERNA. Let's take a look at these charts. ERNA pulled back to the VWAP, but not breaking down yet. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure about ERNA. This if the volume comes back in and it lifts, gets a lift back over VWAP, maybe it'll go on to do some great things. But right now it's looking a little weak. What is that?
Fiserv, ticker FI, Fiserv. Fiserv shares are trading lower after the company reported weaker than expected Q3 results and lowered its full year 25 and adjusted EPS guidance. This stock is down 44, almost 45%. Yikes. Yikes.
This is down to pre-COVID lows.
Not one that I follow, but my God, what a move down here.
Gosh, where was I when we were looking for shorts?
150 up here on VC. There's that big seller. They're hitting him 13, just like you mentioned. VC's going to go.
Got to get a big.
They got to get. They got to take this out. They've already taken more than half of it so far. I can put VC back up here if we want to watch it. Okay, so it pulled off that 150 spot, but they did take an awful lot there.
All right, and then PPBT, after we got that pop that came back up near the trend line, we got rejected. I'm just waiting for a dollar breakdown now. I think that's going to be one of the next things we see here with PPBT. Okay, so
Let me go to the
VC hitting that 150 again. It's tough. They're going to need a lot more volume to get through that. Chipping away at it, but not enough. All right, so lots of back and forth with RGTZ. So we're whipping around.
Palantir did the same thing too. Palantir 192.50 right out of the gate, immediately pulled back. On its news of acquiring a controlling stake in Insight Intelligent Sensors is just down. This stock continues to pull. I was joking earlier with Zach that, that's good news. It'll pull another dollar here today. Looks like it's not even joking about that.
PPBT still trying to recapture some levels. Lots of sellers in the way from 115 all the way up to 130 and higher. Maybe this gets a little bit higher than that last candle, but I still think we're going to get a rejection here with all the sellers that are in the way, unless some big volume starts stepping in.
Looks like ICB is asking, what is happening with PayPal? This is a really good question. We talked about PayPal yesterday, and one of the things that I left you folks with was I really wanted to see if this could close above 75. Well, it could not. It actually came down to 75, traded sideways briefly in there, broke away at the end of the day, and has had absolutely no strength. Looks like it is continuing lower here today. It completely round-tripped the news partnering with OpenAI, allowing this as a payment processor with inside ChatGPT, and then also a good earnings report, given everything back here. It feels like, I think it was, what was Anne-Marie was saying, it feels like something is wrong here at PayPal. It feels like it's sick. Something is wrong in here. And we're seeing that reflected in the stock price. I was saying if this thing could close above 75, that might make a pretty decent area to swing trade long, but it has no strength at all.
And what was we were kind of examining yesterday with PayPal with relation to that news with the ChatGPT and OpenAI being used for to facilitate payments. I mean, it seemed like that's great news, but we were talking about how this company is absolutely screwing up the opportunity of being the first to market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's. I mean, I didn't understand exactly how they were screwing up, but it seems like is it their products? Like what is it that they're screwing up? Because that was the part I was having the hardest time with. Where are they screwing up so badly that this isn't great news?
Yeah, I don't know. I have never bought anything through a large language model search for something. I'm basically just searching for information. I'm not looking to buy something. So I can't really speak to that. And everything else that I use PayPal for, it works great. Lion, I'm glad that you took your profits yesterday. That was absolutely the right move. Again, I was being a little bit more patient with that. I said, I want to see how this thing closes. And boy, am I glad I did, because that thing had a terrible, terrible day.
And
I'll wait it out. I'm patient with PayPal. I'll wait it out. When it firms up and looks better, then we'll talk about it.
It's going to need to recapture that 200-day SMA, because if we start closing underneath that, I think that's going to spell even more trouble and lead to even more downside.
Yeah, and sorry, I wasn't even looking at the chart there because I was watching NVIDIA break out, but this is what 13 is talking about. We've looked at this PayPal chart a whole bunch. Come on, adjust. Thank you. Here's the 200-day. The value is at 71.49. Current price on PayPal 71.28, and it plunged out of the open. So we'll see if this can recapture it here.
VC really pulled back off of 150 after getting rejected. And I do mean really pulled back. Lost VWAP, that went down to test the 65 EMA, all that stuff. CMBM, it might seem like it's still halted, but alas, this unhalted and it went right back into another halt, this time to the downside. So that's what we're waiting on now. Still waiting for PPBT to... well, I think it's supposed to be coming back in, but hasn't quite done a touch of the trend line that I said it could back test. So there's still, that could still possibly happen, but I think this is going to ultimately go lower.
Not looking good here. So first of all, here's the first upside trend line 13 that we talked about when we were doing the rundown. Let me actually extend this a little bit. Let me make this a little bit cleaner. But here's the problem. Now, with this action, we now have a new trend line. Look at this. And I'm actually going to leave this on here. Let's see if we can get above that, because it does look like, to my eye, this is going lower as well. Apple 271. Tenzin, are you dancing on the table? Yeah, and Smoke Tuna did say, caution at the open there. Momentum looks exhausted. And indeed, I don't have a whole lot moving here. SOXS.
Yeah, and you know, when I was looking at the scanners,
value,
I was looking at all the movers, and you know, there aren't very many that are above 25%, and that's kind of been the threshold, like 25%. As soon as we start getting some movers, and I start looking at them to analyze and whatnot, if I go into an area of movers where they're only up 20% really early, like it's like the third or fourth one I'm looking at, it's a very, very weak market at the open, in my view, because we only have one runner that's over 100%. Everything else is under that, and there's only two that are there's only three that are above 50%. It's not a big mover day.
No, it isn't. No, it absolutely is not.
MSAI getting the lift here, just moved over VWAP, getting a little bit of volume.
Teradyne's pulling back. You said MSAI, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so Teradyne's doing that. VC is trying to rebound and recapture VWAP. Lots of sellers in the way. It's going to be difficult for that stock.
NVIDIA 211 up 5%. Good God. So those NVIDIA call buyers yesterday did pretty well, huh?
That is wild. VC wants that VWAP. I VC what you did there.
Jay, looks like we have a closing order here on an unusual options trade. Looked like they had the November Teradyne 145 calls, had them in size, 450 of them, sold those for 1.03 million today. Stock is 166. That absolutely looks like a closing order to me.
Oh, thanks for that mention, CW Parker. HOND was changed over to IMSR because they had that vote and that ticker change. Okay. So now they are merged. Doesn't look like that comes up for me on Pro yet.
Is today the first day? I can drop a note to the news desk and have them manually do that.
I believe it is. Let's take a look here, because I know that the vote was on the 20th. Trustful, yeah, it should be on Pro, and it just didn't come up when I put in the search bar.
Real quick here, we were talking about offerings earlier and all of that. Here's an example of one. Wolf with a U. I'm sorry, I'm running slow here. Wolf with a U, when they announced earlier today that they were going to do an offering, stock moved from $16 to a low of $14.70. This is the type, when 13 says be careful, when any of us say be careful, the whole reason we're talking about stuff like this is we don't want you to get caught in this move. Now, it is worth noting, since then, it looks like this is getting bought back up, and we are about to close this gap off. So Wolf here trading higher. It looks like 1608 was the day that it fell from, or the price level that it fell from, excuse me. We'll see if this comes back up. 13, I'm going to step away for 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. But yes, he is right. That is exactly the kind of price action I do not want anybody to be caught in when they do an offering. So when I say these kinds of things, it's so to spare y'all from being stuck and stuff like that. So that's all I'm getting at with these things when I'm saying that be careful. They could do capital raises, this and that. It's exactly that reason why. So now let's see what we have moving here. So saw that you were mentioning, some folks were mentioning Oklo. That has it's been kind of back and forth, a lot of whipping around with the price action, but ultimately, yes, it is a little bit lower today. Teradyne, this is continuing lower after that pop out of the gate. We have the 200 EMA down at 163.40, and we're getting pretty close to that price. So there could be support coming from there. Did get support from that area earlier this morning in the pre-market. So something to keep an eye on if you're trading TER. VC still looking to get over that VWAP, as it was mentioned earlier. Big seller in the way at 150, huge seller at 155. Going to need to see some really good volume even if we do get over VWAP, if we're going to take those sellers out, because they will just hang out at 150, 155, wherever those sellers are, and just try to eat away at the shares. But if there's not enough volume, we won't get that. We won't get through that. MSAI. This is also trying to recapture its VWAP. It looks like the last 5-minute candle, it successfully got above it, but was rejected and ended up closing beneath VWAP. Need to see more volume in this one as well. Otherwise, it looks like we could end up going under $1 here. We are approaching that limit right now. So need to see some volume, or it's under $1 we go.
Which one were you looking at?
That was MSAI.
MSAI, okay. I don't even see it on the scanner here.
PPBT still hanging in there. Your trend line might actually work out to indicate an upside break, but that still would be an upside break that is going to go and test that the underside of that wedge that we outlined. So it's, if we do get that break to the upside, it's probably only going to take us up to about 130, 135 before we get some rejection. I'm also seeing just a large amount of sellers really stepping in here. Big one at 120. Going to need to see some big volume to get through those big boys. So, and then we're going to hit it right now, it looks like. So maybe this is where we get the breakout if the volume expands enough. They're hitting it right now, 120.
Yep, there we go.
All right, there we go. Now we're on our way up to that 130, 135 area. Maybe back test the trend. Oh, look, now the sellers are stepping back in and pulling it right back down. Okay, well, there you go. Tough one, PPBT. I mean, providing some great trading opportunities, but
I didn't trade that one. I haven't made a trade yet here today. Palantir ripping to the highs, 194.60. Palantir continuing to move higher. Looks like big cap tech moving higher, as we saw Nvidia do the same thing as well.
There was no news that caused this.
Sorry, I was reading something else I shouldn't have.
There was no news in Palantir that caused this, or is it just big tech in general is all doing this? I'm just asking if what's causing this to go.
Yeah, I didn't go through this here. Earnings in 5 days. Let me see if there was any fresh news here. It looks like this is just kind of going with the rest here. Let's see. Wednesday. Palantir could be Nvidia's fastest route to 500 billion in AI software. Kathy Wood saw it coming. Cutting edge technology leading. This is just a kind of like a joint PR here that mentions a number of companies. Palantir is one of them. They're talking about projected global artificial intelligence in military to reach 19.2 billion by 2030. Palantir obviously going to be the beneficiary of that.
What is this about? NVIDIA backs a new data center that aims to cut your electricity bill. It's behind a paywall, but I think it mentions Aurora AI. I mean, that'd be great. That'd be great if it killed electricity bill. So here's PPBT at 130 right now. So that it did end up getting up to the near the trend line. It still hasn't touched it yet, but I anticipate that if we do, we're going to come back down after we test it.
That was PPBT, you were saying?
Mm-hmm. ERNA just had an ugly knife right now. It's getting some support from the 15 EMA, but that was an ugly move back through the VWAP. CMBM still a halt fest, but more downside. Wow.
Lots of NVIDIA call buying for this week still going on. Looks like NVIDIA 210, 211 seems to be that resistance area so far.
Yep. Teradyne coming down some more, approaching the 200 EMA. Oklo's trying to get above its 200 EMA. Getting a little bit of weakness in RGTZ, so Rigetti trying to climb back up, which is fine. Just give us some more trading opportunities.
Don't see anything great out here.
No, I don't either. It's
okay. Well, at least I'm not alone.
Yeah, I mean, something will reveal itself.
Powell, the decision is at 2, Tenzin. The press conference is at 2:30. And you know what? That might just be it. We might just kind of be in a holding pattern until that 13.
I'm probably right about that. And then the market reacts to whatever the decision is. Oklo over the 200 EMA now.
I'm just going to look up. Oh, Netflix. I just wanted to check in on Netflix here. I wanted to briefly mention that this is a stock that we have been looking at pretty much every day for the past several sessions here. Netflix, yesterday tried to recapture the 200 and could not. That value 11.19 and 14 cents, so $1,119. Stock's at 11.03 right now. We'll see if today's a recapture of that. I am waiting this out. I'm checking on it every day, but I want to see a close above that 200. To be quite honest with you, I'd like to see more than one close above that 200, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to be that greedy. We'll see here on Netflix. No buy yet there on that. Netflix did trade up out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm still looking for this thing to go to find support down between 1060 and 1080. But as I said before, I wouldn't be surprised if this went down to 1,000.
And I should also mention, I would also be waiting for that, right? A recapture of the 200-day might signal another move higher here, but 13, if we don't get that and we end up getting a move down, I think I like those levels for a potential support area add. Well, I'm going to have to refresh my platform here. I am lagging like a beast. AREB, good mention here, Wiz. Sorry, 13. AREB popping to the highs. Looks like it stopped at 180. Let me go ahead and refresh my platform real quick.
All right, and then we were getting asked, I was getting asked by Cam, any reason why rare earths are tanking so much China trade? With the possibility of U.S.-China trade talks going well, there's the speculation that the rare earth restrictions that, I forget what the terminology was, but China's putting some fines and fees on their rare earth exports, and I think the idea here is that when Trump and Xi talk this week, that they're going to delay those on the U.S. I don't think they're going to eliminate them. I think they're here to stay. So it's just going to be more of a negotiating tool with China. And if it ends up happening to where we're able to, get those rare earths from China, those refined rare earths from China back, how we were originally, that would not be so great for some of the rare earth production we're trying to do here. And I think that's why you're seeing the rare earth stocks come down. But this just could be a buying opportunity. Because I think we are going to be, not relying on China so heavily for rare earths going forward.
I was going to say, even in the scenario of a deal, I think it behooves them to continue to increase production here stateside in some of those companies. And I agree, 13. Maybe it sells off a little bit from that initial pop that we got from this ongoing back and forth. But long term, I think you're spot on. I think that I don't think we're going to rely as much on China. I think this was very obvious. Trying to force the whole tariff thing was trying to force a negotiation. They're there. And the conversation that we've been hearing recently is that it seems like things are going well.
So PPBT hit the trend line, the underside of the wedge I was talking about. So this is where it would have to turn around and start going south if this bearish formation is going to play out. Otherwise, the other scenario is that this continues to push higher, squeeze out these short sellers, and take out the trend line at the top that you drew there, which is going to be the next resistance area. But this is where I would think that this starts to turn around and come back in.
Okay. It's just probably because of the way I drew my line. I don't actually have it testing it, but it was within 2 cents of it. So
well, that's not the line that I was referring to.
Okay.
Because I said, I made a wedge. We were in a rising wedge. So the underside you don't have drawn.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
See if PPBT can push some more here. It's going to run through the list a little bit. ERNA did stop here at its 15 EMA. Still don't feel great about that.
MSAI now spending its 20th, approaching its 20th minute underneath the VWAP. Not a great place to be. Volume in this one looks like it's kind of left the building. I don't know how much more of a trade we're going to get out of MSAI absent this volume.
Okay.
Oklo, still taking off here. Approaching, I think we've actually cleared the pre-market highs. We are in yesterday's territory, trying to get into the consolidation from yesterday. A lot of sideways price action yesterday. The lows of that consolidation about 137. We're right there, 137.50. So we're entering this all this sideways price action from yesterday right now in OKLO.
Okay. Shashank asking anything about Lucid. That's ticker LCID. Let's take a look here at Lucid. Lucid did pop. Did we have some news here this morning? Lucid earnings next week, next Wednesday after the market closes. What do we have here? Uber partners with NVIDIA to scale its autonomous driving globally. Dari Koshwahari calls the chip maker the backbone of the AI era. That is doing a lot of the EV cars as well as Uber there. The other piece of news here, Neuro launches a Neuro-Lucid Uber robotaxi launching in 2026. So that's your news here. Lucid plus 4.5% on the back of that news.
Let me look at this chart because Lucid hasn't been great.
No, but you know what, 13? It does trade better since the reverse, which is a common theme that we have been seeing here. Remember, this stock traded like garbage when it was $2. Trades a lot better closer to 20.
Trades pretty good when you have a float shorted that's a short interest of 43% with 4 days to cover too. That'll get it moving. But yeah, to your point, yes, the reverse split did take the float underneath 100 million, which is better. Still at 83 million, so a little bit heavier than what we'd like, but to your point, not as heavy, so it moves better.
Yeah.
But I
NVIDIA, boy, I tell you what, NVIDIA looks like it's going to set a new all-time high here as it goes for 212.
I have a hard time just even liking Lucid because this company just pisses cash. It just burns right through it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not missing words.
I'm sorry for laughing.
Anyway, PPBT is halted. No, it's halted to the downside. This is halted down.
Halted down to the downside trend line that we initially drew there.
Oh, that you initially drew. I don't have that trend line. That was your breakout.
That's right.
That was a great trend line because that one indicated the breakout that was going to take us up to the bottom of the wedge that I was talking about.
Yeah, I just struggled when we both draw trend lines and they're not the same. I struggle. That's my own fault. That's something I can get better at.
We'll work on it.
Always 2% better.
Yeah. CMBM just unhalted. This is trying to fill a gap. I don't know that it will, but the gap fills at about 226. So a little bit of room there, but I don't think there's a whole lot to trade with CMBM. ERNA, this looks like this is trying to prevent itself from going lower, but I think lower it will go. MSAI finally getting a little bit of life here after spending so much time underneath the VWAP. This is starting to get a little bit of a lift. Moved over VWAP, approaching some resistance around 108 to 110.
I still think that 110 level is the key level there if it can get to it.
Oklo hit 138 exactly and reversed. Let's see what else is looking good here. I mean, if Rigetti continues to recover, there might be another one of those RGTZ trades setting up for us. Volume is in Rigetti is not great today, and it might just stay not great. If there's going to be a trade here, I would really like to see another one of those, tests of the 20-day SMA and get rejected, because that has been an absolutely great time to go long on RGTZ. But with this volume, I don't know that we're going to necessarily get up there. So maybe it's more like if it tries to get up to 41 and it can't do it, then that might be your area where you can take a position in RTGZ. But I just don't know. This thing is the volume in this thing is just really, really low. So it's not giving me a whole lot to work with right now.
Real quick here, Jay, you were mentioning here FLNC. Is this the next BE? It looks good. What do you think on that? I know we're talking BE is stocked in $130 or whatever it is. Do you see the same thing here? What kind of time frame do you see on that? And also worth mentioning here, didn't mention it early because there was really not a whole lot of pre-market action, but I guess maybe now we can. Maybe there is a little bit more action. Starting to see some volume in here. Roadzen, excuse me. This is ticker RDZN. I think we've traded this one before. It is worth mentioning. We did an exclusive on this here today. All right. Roadzen targets $200 million gross written premium after acquiring a majority stake in US MGU. The acquisition is non-dilutive and expects to contribute over $8 million in annual revenues over the next 12 months with 25% adjusted EBITDA. We had this news 30 minutes prior to the press release. The stock was basically doing nothing in the pre-market. I know it popped a little bit here and came back in, but starting to gear up now, and the big volume candles what's got me looking at this now. Looks like it took out 150 and then 155 here, sitting at 156. Roadzen, ticker RDZN, up 13% on the back of the exclusive. Tell you what, our news desk continues to get it done here. I thought, I was like, man, we might have one that doesn't work here today, but sure enough, it's moving.
So when it comes to FLNC, I guess the two questions I would have are, one, what type of energy storage products do they have? And I can look all this up myself, but if you have the answer available really quick, then that's great. But yeah, so that would be number one. Number two is that energy storage solution going to be used in data centers? So those are the two questions I would have for FLNC. If the answer to those questions are, like fuel cell and yes, then absolutely it'll be in the next BE.
RDZN continuing to trade up here, doing it without me too, unfortunately. Should have just tried it. I should have just tried. I might just make a habit of trying some of these exclusives and see what happens during the regular session, because I was watching this in the pre-market. It was doing nothing. I was like, maybe this news doesn't really hit a whole lot. And then sure enough, regular session, here we go. And there was just all the stock you could have bought in the morning in the pre-market too. Could have had any position size you wanted there. RDZN at the highs, 163, your high print. Ed Wynn saying PayPal has gotten a handful of price upgrades. The good news here on PayPal, RDZN pulled back a little bit there. The good news here on PayPal so far, holding that 200-day. 13, you talked about this earlier here. We're at 71.57. Let me go check the value of my 200-day just to be sure here, but I'm pretty certain that we're holding that right now. Yep, we sure are. 71.49 is your 200-day moving average. 71.55 is what we're currently at.
So for RDZN, Here's an upside target for you. 175. It's not too far away. We have the 65 week EMA at 177. It looks like it's going to go there. So that's kind of the next target I would have for RDZN is that 175 area.
And the volume looks good here. Volume looks good here. Real quickly here, Smoke Tuna saying, Ryan, sometimes when you have all access and you never use it, I think I know what you're saying there. Sometimes you just have so much stuff you can't possibly do it all. And you know what, Tuna? What I was looking at here is I wanted to see, is there any action going on in the pre-market? Like, is this news going to get reacted to? And it did not appear that that was the case. So I kind of just took it off my radar, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And now we're going here. Maybe I should just try it, force myself to look at it.
PPBT is unhalted, trying to recapture VWAP right now. If it manages to move back up towards the high where it was just recently, a lot of sellers in the way there. Going to need to see some big volume expansion like it had about 20 minutes ago.
And it does look like it bounced off that trend line, that downward sloping trend line that I had. MSAI, got it.
MSAI 120. Seller in the way right there. If it takes that one out, 140 could be the next spot it goes to.
I wasn't in MSAI, but I feel like a lot of you folks were. Register, ring as we pop towards the highs there.
Fantastic.
Alvin said, that's what I did. Alvin, were you talking about the exclusive, or was that referencing something else? Maybe I just missed it.
Hey, great. No, Jeremy, that's a great attitude. He got out of MSI too early, but he's still green. Perfect. Don't think anything other than that. Made him, yeah, a little too early on MSI, not a problem. You're still having a good day. That's the important part. Great attitude.
Breath green across the board with the exception of the Russell. I wonder if that changes when we get rate cuts or when we get the rate cut news, the FOMC decision. Maybe it's foreshadowing.
We'll see.
We will. I feel like 2 p.m. Things are going to get a lot busier.
They might.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what happens.
What else is Palantir still at the highs?
CMBM halted to the downside again. This is still not looking great. I would even go so far to think that the next support's not going to happen until around 160. Maybe a little bit earlier, about 165, but I think we're coming in some more. Coming in just like PPBT is still coming in. Trying to find some footing somewhere, but it's now trading beneath the VWAP. MSAI, though, this thing continuing. Making its way towards that 65-week EMA. Okay. I'm just trying to see if I can locate something interesting here.
Yeah, I'm looking around too, 13. That's literally, I'm looking at like all my screens here just to see if maybe I'm missing something or something is set up there. Izzy, I know you had mentioned Amazon there. Amazon spiked in the pre-market, pulled all the way back. Let me know what you think the buy spot is for that, Izzy. Curious, what price level is the buy spot for Amazon?
Is the news bad on CMBM? So the news... this one was that they had some kind of partnership to establish one network with Starlink for more. I think it was better access for the satellite clusters. I'd have to go back and look at the news was, but they are working with Starlink. They do have a lot of cash. I think one of the things that was a negative for this is that they had to have a delisting notice. So that could be a future catalyst, but it's something that's currently weighing on it. The short interest, 12.4%, 7 days to cover. So could have been a little bit of a squeeze that's coming back in from. But yeah, it's I don't necessarily think that this is super bullish news, but
you know what I think, 13? I think that you got an extended pop on this news because of the Starlink name drop. Stock ran 250%, and now you're just pulling back off that high. I agree with you. I think the news is good here. The integration brings enterprise-grade services to networks connected to Starlink, delivering enhanced security, traffic intelligence, and multi-WAN scalability to businesses, schools, and service providers, and distributed enterprises that depend on satellite broadband critical connectivity. So it sounds like they're bolstering their connectivity by using Starlink here. I'm not sure that represents a 250% gain in the company. And I think that you're probably just having a regression back to the mean. This thing tested 3 earlier. It's at $1.88 and still up 204%.
Yeah, and there's going to be a series of support levels on the way down. I just mentioned one not long ago at 160, 165. You also have the 200 EMA on the 5-minute down at 135. So these are all levels that I think this could come down to before we start seeing some footing. I don't know that this is going to go under $1. So take that for what you will. I don't think that's going to happen yet. It could, but I don't think it will. I think the news is good enough to keep it above $1 for a time. It's just that I don't know how long it's going to hang out above $1. ERNA, this is getting some movement above its VWAP, trying to recapture it. Seems like it gets a little bit of volume enough to take it up there, and then it just peters out a little bit.
And it also happens to be right around that round number 2 level. Super asking, Ryan, can you please look at RR once? I suppose if you ask so politely, I probably should, right? Why does it keep falling off without any news for some days? Well, it made a huge move higher, didn't it? Yeah. So I think this is similar to Ondas, to be quite honest with you. The stock was really just kind of pinned around the $2 level, ran to what, 740? It's really just kind of coming back a little bit. It's basically down to where it was at the beginning of October. Right. So you basically just lost some of this. I think this is just kind of a regression back to the mean. You're seeing a lot of similar stuff with Ondas. Just moved.
I think RR might get some support down around 450. That's where it's near the 50-day SMA. And at that point, it seems like this move would have cooled off a little bit. Just not really liking this formation here. This a pattern we seem to be kind of establishing here. It looks bearish to me. I would think that after today, it's going to, let's say tomorrow, I think you might start to see some support depending on how, the market breadth looks in the morning. But based on the amount of days we've been selling off, I think tomorrow you might see a little bit more support. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But 450 looks like that's the support area to me. WETH is up today. It's up wonderfully.
So real quick here. So this just regarding Rich Tech here, there was a recent PR about integrating with the Vegas Golden Knights, the hockey team. This says, now together we're setting a new standard here, this time for hospitality and fan engagement. What started as a bold idea in Las Vegas will soon become the global benchmark for how robotics and live entertainment can come together to create an unforgettable experience. I'd like to hear a little bit more about what they're going to do with this, but this certainly seems like Rich Tech or whatever robotic plans they have are going to be available for Golden Knight, Vegas Golden Knight, fans, I guess, or people that attend the games. I like your support area there, 450, and then also we have the 65 EMA at 433 on the daily as well.
Capybara report for RR says the whole thing is a fraud.
You know what? That's actually a really good mention. I forgot that Capybara came out with that, and that's another reason why it might be moving to the downside.
Yeah. But you'll find some bargain hunters start to step in, and once it hits a support area for because I think they'll take a quick trade. Or swing trade, but longer term, I don't think they'll be sticking around.
And as far as WETH goes, this was a extremely frustrating stock for me. Definitely just bought this one too early, ended up selling it and taking an L on it. That was a while ago, actually. And in fact, it dipped way beneath $1, went to like 80 something cents. Really good reversal here. I would say if you're still in this, I think we talked about this around $2 before it really started its move down. I'll say this. It's good to see this turn around here. Apparently, they're making some of the screens that you're going to see in some of the new cars, some of the curved screens that you're going to see in some of the new cars. Maybe there's something there. To me, on this one, after watching some of the action, I'd be using this move to sell into it. That's just me, though. I have no position. It's easy for me to say that.
ERNA is getting some movement here. It's trying to take out 220. Still have some sellers in the way, but volume is expanding. So it's looking like it's trying to get going here. If we can continue to get this volume to expand, we'll make our way through these sellers. Keep seemingly reloading at lower prices, like around 215. You'll see these sellers get taken out, and then suddenly they just reload. They're trying
220
to
look like a resistance to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely it is.
I'm a trader too. MSAI 104 to 121. Book the gains. Register ring you get.
Nice.
Lulu's taking a pounding today. That's interesting because I think when we talked about the NFL news, that day it didn't really trade well. Well, look at this, right back in. So this is interesting to me. I might be getting lucky here with this one. Here's the Monday morning, we got news that they're collaborating with the NFL. Came pretty much all the way back in, ended up going red the next day, lower still now. Here's what it looks like, though, on the daily chart. Remember, this thing has a pretty decent support level that it goes all the way back to like 2018 down here at 160. It was trading sideways here. It did try and fill this gap. Gap fills at about 200. Never ended up doing that. The other thing about Lululemon, remember, is the seasonality from, I think, like next week all the way into December is extremely good for this stock. So if this comes in a little bit more, might try a call position or some upside here based on that seasonality. Palantir, more new highs here today. Actually, what's funny about this is that my Palantir, the PLTZ position, that's the most red in my entire portfolio. It's really not even down that much because I don't have a whole lot of it. And it's doing a really good job hedging some of my other stocks that are trading higher. But man, Palantir 190, almost 198. Someone called Palantir 200. It might have been Lion. I think we are probably going to get that here.
This 175 area for Lulu, pretty interesting, if I'm being honest. This was an area that when we came down in September here, it tried to recapture and it failed. We did get above it for a brief period of time in late September, early October, but then we fell right back beneath it, and we had a little bit of a struggle to get back above it. It seems like based on the price action at 175, that seems to be an area that has been frequently changing hands with support and resistance. So right now, this would be an area where I'd like to see the price recapture us. We're above it right now, 175. I think we'd want to hold above here. If we're going to reverse and go higher.
Okay, and here's what I was talking about with the seasonality. Here's what the chart looks like graphically, right? We are in this shaded area that you see on the bottom chart here. The dates there are October 29th, which is today, through December 7th. You can see that's on seasonally adjusted here. Lululemon traditionally does great during this time and then trades sideways, looks like into about February. Now, if we take a look at some of the stats here, on average, based on these seasonality stats, this trade is profitable 80% of the time with an average gain of just about 14.6%. But if it doesn't work, it's got an average loss of 11.43%. Still, with the 80% probable, kind of like this here. So we'll see. Looks like Lion here saying December 180 calls. I'd actually prefer Jeremy's trade here, the December 190 calls. Those December 190s, by the way, 1075 asks, so they're not cheap, just about $1,100 a call there, but pretty good backing here, right? Seasonality looks pretty good. I still think that Lululemon's going to be a gift for the holiday season, so we'll see here on Lululemon. That's what I've got for you.
Getting asked if it's too late to enter MSAI. I don't think I'd be chasing this move. I don't know how much of a run it's going to go on, but we are running into a bunch of sellers in this area from 135 to 140. There's also some sellers going all the way up to 150. I don't know if we're going to chew through all that with this current volume. We're going to need to see some more expansion. But I also wouldn't be chasing here because if we're getting a little bit extended, and wouldn't want to be like, oh yeah, this is a great time, and then just you jump in and then this thing just crashes on us. So I don't think I would be chasing this, but we're still looking like it's trying to climb higher as we take out these sellers in the high 130s.
Michael, kudos to you for keeping this on your radar despite the huge move down. FI has buyers stepping in. Michael's right. This thing has had a really rough pre-market. Does look like it kind of bottomed here at $68. The buyers do seem to be stepping in just based on looking at the volume here. I think we want to see some continued expansion of this buying volume. Maybe this thing can go higher here, maybe even $80. I don't have a position in this. Michael, what are you targeting? Are you trading this? And if so, what are you targeting here?
Oklo new session high. It's making its way into the consolidation from yesterday now. So that's a new session high there. ERNA, this is trying to turn around and recapture VWAP. Big seller at 220 if that happens. RDZN, this is trying to get back up into the 160s. They have a high of 163 in the regular session. And then, of course, PPBT, this is now looking like we're going to print a new low of the regular session pretty soon here. And that might even mean losing $1.
Amanda saying you can pretty much replace your day job trading Oklo options right now. I don't hate it. You had also said sell the ratios and call it a day. I hate watching calls I bought erode in value. You know, this is actually a really good time for Amanda to do a victory lap if she so desires. We'll go ahead and give you the 1-up and the Chewbacca sound. If you recall, when Ondas was running up here, one of the things that Amanda had said is, hey, you know, one of the ways that you can trade this thing is by selling calls against this. That ended up being a great move here. You'd be collecting all that premium. You're not going to be buying those calls back, it doesn't look like. So, Amanda, I know this is, I think you were the only one on that talking about that at that time. That was a really good mention. Looks like that ended up panning out here. Kudos to you.
Samel is asking if Microsoft is a buy going into earnings tonight. I don't know that I would. So I'm not a really big proponent of buying ahead of earnings and for the earnings print. It's, you know, unless I specifically know or think that the stock's going to do well in their earnings, it's not something I typically buy into. That being said, Microsoft's been doing pretty well, and I still think that it'll be 600 sometime by sometime next year, if not earlier this year or later this year. I just don't know what the earnings print is going to look like. Remember, we've been making a point about how earnings have to be absolutely phenomenal, like blow out of the water, melt your face off, phenomenal. Got to have beats on EPS, beats on revenue, and I'm not talking about small beats. We're talking about like big beats if we're going to see any upside movement in these stocks. Because if they haven't provided big beats and big guidance, the stock sells off. So I don't know that. So it's going to have to be your decision. I still think Microsoft goes higher eventually. Just don't know how it's going to look in the earnings print. I don't know what your time horizon is for your trade.
Real quickly here, Michael, I really appreciate you mentioning this one here. FI, this is Fiserv. It looked like this was kind of flirting with that 73.50 level. Did pop through it there. I actually just scalped this thing pretty successfully. I don't know if we're really going to get a huge move back here, so I would rather trade this back and forth and not leave myself exposed throughout the rest of the day. But I just made some money off this one. Appreciate you. Register ring for you. Also a 1-up for bringing that to the table here. OKLO
is on a tear right now. This thing is just absolutely going north. We are making our way through a lot of the consolidation from yesterday. The high from yesterday, 144.40. We are we were $3 away. Well, we're $3 away. We're about $3 to $4 away from that high yesterday. It just likes to move around a lot, so can't pinpoint it. All right, and ERNA, this is still climbing. It's back up into the 2 handle. Still trying to hold above that VWAP. This thing has been losing VWAP and then recapturing it, but really hasn't gone on any kind of meaningful move after recapturing the VWAP. So I'm wondering if we're going to see something like that, or if this is just going to end up staying under VWAP one time when it goes underneath it. CMBM, this volume in this is absolutely horrible. Trying to turn around here and make its way back towards the VWAP, but I don't think it has the volume to do that. I still think that this potentially has a date with the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. And here we go with PPBT. This is at risk of losing $1 imminently. The back test of that wedge worked out exactly the way I thought it might. It just went on to test that wedge a little bit later than I had thought. Still getting the resolution to the downside. This is how a rising wedge typically resolves. They're bearish. When they get the price to fall out of the wedge, you'll get a back test of the underside, and then it'll continue lower. VC has lost its 200 EMA, and it is approaching some of the pre-market lows, not into the after-hours lows quite yet.
Sorry, I'm handling something here off to the side.
No worries. I'll just keep talking. Oklo backing off after hitting 141.55. RDZN, Roadzen, this getting some support from the VWAP. Its volume isn't that great, but it's not retreating off of the, well, it's not losing VWAP. So that's a nice sign to see here with RDZN, but would like to see some more volume in this name.
Greg Bauer saying, bottom feeding on buying Conagra shares sub 18. People have to eat 7+% dividend. You are not the only person on this. This is a really good mention. We actually had a couple of folks in happy hour saying that they were buying beaten down consumer staples, and Conagra was one of them. So you are not the only person doing this. Good mention here, Greg.
ERNA, big pop. It went to 246 and then came back in, but this is starting to get some movement now. We'll see what we end up getting here with this one. Maybe even do a trend line from the highs in the pre-market to the regular session.
Good idea, 13.
And that trend line almost lines up to where the price went to. So this could be resistance in the short term. If we manage to break through this trend line, then we're going to want to see it act as support.
FI trying to go through 73.50 again here. I'll tell you what, a slow start to the day, starting to turn around here. VIX also at 1698, so about to take a 17 handle on the VIX. Netflix still creeping higher here, 1107. Remember, we needed that to get to over 1114 and change to recapture that 200, and we want to see that on a closing basis. We don't just want to peak above that.
Crimp Biscuit, hey, it looks like you hit ERNA. Well done. Well done, everybody that was on ERNA. That was a nice pop.
Yeah. Good stuff from our group again here.
That's probably the biggest win for me every day is our group coming in here every day and killing it. Hit the like for everybody in the group. Not for Ryan and I,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, here, if you need an individual, hit the like for Michael. Nice, Ryan. Glad you're able to make a few bucks off. About time I was able to return the favor. Yo, this is why we do this, right? We talk all the time. I've actually gotten recently compliments about the community that we have created here and how valuable that is. It's not just a one-way street, right? We can all benefit from just kind of looking around at things. FI was not on my radar, and here I am. Paid for at least my dinner, more than that with that. So,
well,
all right.
We're getting asked again about MSAI entry. If you're adamant about trading this one, to understand the risk here with this, I feel like if you are going to get some kind of opportunity, it's probably going to be maybe even lower from here. I feel like the 110 price level could provide some of that support. But now we're trading beneath VWAP, and the MACD is starting to curl over. I'm a little bit concerned about this one. But if there is going to be a trade, the support areas that I see for where you could try and get a bounce, for entry would be like 120 and 110. Beyond that, I maybe 102, but I just don't feel that great about this one. Maybe it works. Maybe it does. But those would be the two areas that I'd be looking for potential entry in MSAI would be 120 and 110. If we don't get anything great out of those two areas or reversal, maybe just make sure you're out before it loses $1. But I just don't know. I don't have a lot of great conviction for MSAI.
Shady, Lion Atlas is here right now. It's this guy. It's the username Hamid. Again, with YouTube changing this, there's just nothing we can do. I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me because I don't know a lot of you folks in real life. I only know you based on your YouTube username. And when they all change the same day, it's like I don't know anybody anymore. I'm doing my best to read through on some of the usernames and some of the pictures, but as I mentioned yesterday, the pictures are extremely small and difficult for me to see. Lion is here. He's doing good.
OKLO, now this is really starting to come back in towards the 138 support area. That was previously resistance. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a reversal there. ERNA, that went as high as 268, a little bit over the trend line before it backed off. If this manages in this candle or the next one to get over the trend line and hold above it, I'm going to have to look and see what the next upside targets are. So you'll have to give me a minute. But I think that if that happens with ERNA where it gets above the trend line and holds above it, we're going to see some higher prints.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Good deal there. By the way, I wanted to mention Generac here. They reported earnings earlier today. They got pounded initially. They've actually gone red to green after that. So I probably should have bought the dip on this one. Saw the earnings here this morning, looked at this, was trading lower. I was like, wow, guidance was also lowered from this report. Doesn't really matter. Generac plus 3.3%.
That sales guidance lowering isn't that bad in my opinion, because it's still kind of in the same range. It's not. The earnings miss and the guidance being lowered, that's not great. But there's such a demand for backup power that I don't think
there's the hurricane hitting Cuba right now, like Melissa,
right?
Right? Yeah, that's
right. I don't necessarily know that Generac has a huge presence in Jamaica or Cuba, but it's absolutely that line of thinking. You're right about that. I just think that there's more of a we're struggling to keep up with the power demand in the United States, and backup generation could be one of those things that we can maybe lump in with our battery theme as well for data centers. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. But Generac, I have one. It's a great product.
In fact, every person I know that has a Generac thinks the exact same way you do. They swear by it. Their team, they swear by their Generac.
Yeah, I mean, I don't lose power anymore. So as long as the gas keeps flowing, so do I. All right, let's go back.
Setups at all?
Well, you do have PPBT that went down to the 65 EMA just underneath $1. That's starting to get a little bit of a lift. So maybe there's a trade there. Still not interested in it, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. MSAI, this thing is continuing to come back in some more, although it is getting a little bit of support at that 120 area. Still looks like to me that 110 might be better, but even if it does come into 110, I think that this is still having a hard time. I'm not sure about how much of a trade is going to be there, but as I said, 120, 110, if there's going to be a trade, those are the areas that I think would be the best spot for entry. ERNA, still trying to get above that trend line.
I'm just looking at the Bloom Energy chart here. This actually might go again if it moves through 140.
Josh, what happens to the power generator if Amazon goes down?
Yeah.
Well, as long as Amazon Web Services isn't controlling CenterPoint's gas flow, should be fine.
It might be, though. It seems to control everything else.
Right, exactly.
Man.
That could be the case. Let's see. So you are getting a little bit of support here in MSAI around that 120, but the volume needs to be better. PPBT also still trying to turn around after it got near that 65 EMA.
Nokia not doing much of anything here.
No. IDAI, since that was getting mentioned, we hit 504 out of the open, and we've just kind of been, shuffling lower here. Almost we're getting close to some of the lows from the after hours, but we've got a longer prospect on this. I'm not worried about it having a little bit of a day where it comes back in.
Yeah, and I mean the PR here today. Let me read the whole thing here. It felt a little fluffy to me. which is okay. I mean, which is okay. I am expecting some more news here, but this one felt a little fluffy here. Quote, this is Trust Stamp President Andrew Gawasak. This company, I believe, is in Atlanta. Oh, no. Yes, this company, I believe, is in Atlanta. While we are proud of reaching 100 financial institutions, our team is already focused on our next stage of growth. Wealth management providers are facing similar fraud challenges to our banking and insurance customers and demand the same level of security and privacy for customers. So it says, manage numerous high-value accounts for net worth individuals. They are prime targets for criminals. In February of 2024, a financial worker paid out that's $25 million after a video call with a deep fake. So it looks like what they're doing is they're setting up here for, or they're setting us up here for more expansion of their business and an increase in the total addressable market. This is the same deal, though. We actually saw this with Ondas for a long time when we saw some of these PRs come out. They were okay, but they weren't really reflecting what happens on the bottom line. That's, I think, what's next. Sorry, 13, get in there.
No, that's okay. That's not the news we're waiting for that we've been talking about.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so I don't think. Yeah, so I think it's great, but it's not the news we're waiting for. These aren't the droids we're looking for. So until we find those droids, this
not yet.
Yeah. The RNA, this is starting to give some similar price action to what we got in the pre-market. So a little bit of caution here with ERNA. We don't want this thing to start going really south on us, but if it does, we're going to come back into the VWAP. I think that we would get support there. Big seller in the way at 255 if it manages to climb back up. But this price action that we were getting with these 3 5-minute candles in the morning from about 840 to 850, starting to get some really similar price action compared to those. So if we're going to get the same kind of thing, same results, this thing is coming into the VWAP, maybe even a little bit lower. Also, we're getting asked about MSAI. I think that one's still trying to do stuff with 120. PPBT getting a little bit of a rejection around 110. Volume needs to be better if we're going to climb back up over VWAP. CMBM, this is trying to put in a bottom here, but we'll see if it can get back above VWAP. It's starting to turn around, it looks like, and get a little bit of volume, but I still think volume needs to be better.
Zach, I'm with you. I wanted to load some more IDAI too. I got some, but not as much as I wanted. And then it started creeping up from my buy at $3. And I was like, do I really want to increase my cost basis here? And I said, you know what? I'll wait till they prove it first. Right. I would rather buy the stock at $6 if they prove to me that they're executing, as opposed to loading up more down here, have it not work, and then just be too over levered. So I'm going to try and be patient with it. At least I've got a decent amount now in case it goes.
I kind of like this Generac chart. This looks like it's got a cup with handle happening here. If you look at the daily chart.
Yeah, let me bring it up on the big chart here.
This looks like it's got a cup with handle that it's about to resolve higher after it moves over 200. You got to back out a little bit more so you get the full year and maybe a little bit of 2024 in there as well.
Amanda, to be fair, lots of people have lost money on tramp stamps. You'd be in good company.
You got to back out.
Oh, isn't that the truth, Amanda? Isn't that the truth?
You got to back out way more.
Oh, sorry. I was so distracted by the good joke. Here you go. Do you want me to go to like a weekly?
Well, now you're too because now you're too far. But you can see it. It's basically.
Well, I can't get it right. 13.
It's just okay. Stop. There you go. There it is.
I figured it out.
You see it now. All right. So there's your cup with handle. You got the handle. We're trying to resolve this. It looks like this is going over 200. So if we get a true resolution of this cup with handle, I'd say we're going to be seeing prints of 220 at some point in the near future.
Okay, good stuff there on Generac.
ERNA did not give us that pre-market similar breakdown. As a matter of fact, we are still holding and trying to push through the trend line. And as I said, that we got a little bit of a pull there. So still having a hard time with getting above 260 again. but not also not losing the 235 area. Okay. If anybody's wondering, PPBT, that's still kind of going sideways. Not sure about that one. Still, CMBM still kind of trying to curl up and move back up towards VWAP. Need to see more volume in that one. MSAI, this is continuing lower. You're going to probably get, you're going to see 110 pretty soon here, I'm sure. That's the last spot we've got for entry if you think this is turning around. I'm not so sure about this one, but I gave you the spots regardless.
ERNA going through the trend line as we speak.
Perfect. There we go. Now this needs to, okay, so it didn't hold.
Yeah, it's right there, actually. I might have called that too early.
But that was actually a great call because it went to 286, new session high. And what we want to see now in the next 1.5 minutes is a close above this trend line that we just broke over. So if we get that, then that becomes support. And we're going to want to see, the price bounce around on the top side of that. Maybe it goes a little bit under, but ultimately we're going to want to see it kind of hold above this trend line, close above it, and then move higher later on. Don't know if we're going to get all that. Ideally, that's what we would get, but we got to get it. We got to start closing above this trend line first. Not a bad morning, all things considered. There were some slow movers here and there. Managed to capture some of them. IDAI, this just hit its 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Hopefully it's starting to put in some kind of reversal. CNC earnings today, says Lion. FLNC high a day. ACN has an inverse head and shoulders starting on July 31st. Let's take a look at that. ACN, I think
that's Accenture. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking for something here on the.
No worries. Okay. So yeah, this one I traded last year, and I think also in not in 2023, just last year I traded this one. Let's see. Wow, what a move down off of that high. And so it almost hits 400, and then it absolutely gets cut in half, almost cut in half. So you're looking at an inverse head and shoulders, I think is what you said, right?
I'll go to the big chart and I'll try and give you a visual aid with this.
Inverse HNS starting on July 31st. Okay. I kind of see that. So if this is going to be a inverse head and shoulders, which it kind of does look like it is, I guess my thing is, where are we going to kind of place the neckline at? Because I could see how you could have it at about 252, or you could make a case for it to be at 260. And it's important because that's typically going to be the breakdown and back test level. So if we're, when we do move through the neckline, we're going to get some movement beyond it, and then we're going to come back and back test it before we continue away from it again. It's a good mention. It looks like this is certainly putting in a bottom. So I think let's just go with the 260, and we'll see what kind of movement we get when we move over that level. Let's put it at 260. What do you think?
Okay. I'm actually just going to add this because I suspect we're going to come back to this, and I want to have that on here. I'll make it 260 exactly, if that's all right with you.
Yeah. And yeah, Line, I think this is a pretty good buy at this low price. I mean, this thing, we're approaching 2020. We were just at 2020 levels not that long ago. 5-year lows. That's, and this is a good company. I think, man, look at that move down. What is this entire percentage? Let's just take a look at here. So this lost 42% off the high from February. Wild.
I think Mark Petrino likes this. We'll have to ask him on Friday.
Now, if this does come back up and start to resolve, I think 275 is going to be a big resistance area. That was a big support area back in April and June and July before we lost it at the end of July. as you were saying, where the head and shoulders, the inverse head and shoulders start. So yeah, once the 275, that's gonna be a big area. Let's see, how high could this go if we measure that? Give me 1 second here. So
Jay mentioning that the move in the Qs is all hardware. I just wanted to take a look at some of the oh, you know what? They reported earnings here. WDC. Oh no, excuse me. They report earnings tomorrow. So Jay, you're mentioning the hardware here. Some of those storage stocks up too. How's SanDisk doing today? Whipping.
ACN. One last thing. So if we do get this inverse head and shoulders to resolve, I think we are definitely getting a print at or near the 200-day SMA. That's just that's what the measurement would suggest it's going to go to. Could go higher, but I think that based on the the measurements that I've been taking with this pattern, it looks to me like the 200-day SMA is going to see the price again. You charted the neckline for ACN at 256. Okay, so that's just beneath the 260, and it's going to vary between who you're talking to, but that's fine. I think that's a fine area. 256, that's fine. All right, let's go look at some of these movers and see what they're doing. Looks like PBT back underneath $1. This is at risk of losing the 65 EMA. MSAI. Okay, how about that turnaround there after getting down to 110?
Right at the 15 EMA is what I have it turning around at.
And it turned around. The low print that I had was 111 before it turned around and went back up to VWAP. So that might have been the trade right there if it can't get over VWAP. If it does, then maybe we see 130s, 140s again. So there was your entry. Hopefully that worked out for you. Let's look at VC. That's trying to turn around. TER, that moved off the 200 EMA, just like it did in the pre-market. Fantastic movement. So now it's coming back up to VWAP. Let's see what else. So we still aren't able to get above the trend line with ERNA. As a matter of fact, that's a second rejection from the trend line. It's starting to look a little shaky too. So unless we get some volume to step in here and take us back over the trend line, this might be turning around.
Looks like Trader is rolling from 195 puts on Qualcomm to 180 puts, same time frame. Wonder if that's a roll down on that, booking some of the gain and then keeping some more exposure as this thing has done nothing but come in from that impulse move higher.
Wow. It's had a fantastic week. Fantastic, since last Thursday. What was this? Just a bounce off of the so this goes down to the 50-day SMA and says, all right, it's launch time. And here we are at over 210. Well, that just came back underneath it, but yeah. This thing is extended. It's going to have to cool off. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're not in the stocks that made the big moves, don't chase them.
Yeah, that's not a recipe for disaster.
We're at the time now of the morning where volume does leave the market. Folks get up from their desks, stretch their legs, have another coffee or mimosa, or maybe they go out
for a mimosa,
or they go out for an early lunch. But folks, this is where we start to see volume leave the market. So.
And with the FOMC coming here today, 13, it might just be a ghost town until then. Here's a look at the inside of the SPY chart here today. It does kind of look like we triple topped right up here about it's 689.5. I would imagine this is going to be fairly range bound until we get that decision and whatever action comes from the press conference. That's 2 and 2:30 Eastern.
Yeah, looks like a lot of things are starting to weaken now. ERNA moving away from the trend line. RDZN is starting to go beneath the VWAP. MSAI, we did get a pop above its VWAP, but we haven't been able to close above it yet. 2 minutes, 50 seconds left in this candle. And volume just doesn't seem like it's really there right now, folks. So without volume,
I still don't have any great trade setups, like short-term trade setups here. I know Boeing reported earnings. We haven't even looked at it yet. Let me pull up the Boeing chart here. That's down 2.5%.
Yeah, the only trade I really did today was ERNA. That was the only one.
Yeah, mine was Roadzen and FI. Thanks to Michael.
Okay, hello. Starting to come back up, looking for 140.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, the Bears signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because they need help in their secondary. I don't think he can play anymore. Brian is asking, how much better is the high beta squawk versus the regular squawk? I don't know that I would say it's better. I would say that the big thing here, that you're actually reminding me, I probably should have turned squawk on here, see if I can get any other plays. The high beta squawk, the big difference between the high beta squawk and the regular squawk is that the guy that does it, first of all, they're different people. The guy that does high beta squawk tries to keep himself from squawking until there's something that he really thinks is going to move a stack. So at the end of the day, what this means is that you're likely going to get more squawks from equity squawks, but the idea is that the high beta squawk is going to be so early that you should be able to trade. There should be a tradable move on each one. In practice, what I've found, if you trade off the squawk, more is better. If you get more squawks, it's more opportunity. Occasionally there's some overlap, but for the most part, they're the same thing. It's just a different person who might see different things.
And you might be a trader that likes high beta movement.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like you might not be as active of a trader, right? And you kind of want to just trade a couple of moves on the day. Maybe the high beta squawk is probably a better choice then. Very difficult for me to say that. I've been listening to Charlie since I started this. And I don't know that there's another human being. 13's close, but I don't know if there's another human being out there that has helped me make more money than Charlie from the equity squawk. He's been doing it for, I think, coming up on 3 decades now, if I'm not mistaken. The guy just knows what to do, knows what to look for. I have no trouble distinguishing his voice from other sounds, even if I'm in a different room and it's playing over the speakers. So might be a personal thing. Reality is more is better.
Fubo saying good call. Jay saying good call on Fubo. This thing didn't do anything but go down out of the gate, and it's sideways.
Sell the news,
now.
Right? Sell the news. What we said earlier.
Sell the news. Yep, sell the news. We knew that was already happening. Confirming that they finished doing it. Sell the news. I was looking at MSAI, so that I'm glad if anybody that was looking to do a trade in this got what they wanted. We went higher than both the entry levels that I had mentioned. I don't know where your cost basis is, or if this is going to continue to go much higher. But hopefully this MSAI trade worked out for you. And this is not one for me. I just don't like the volume. But if this if this continues to move over VWAP and go higher, congratulations on your trade.
None of the movers are really even trading on high volume. Now, I don't have a single mover trading over 1 million shares in the last minute. Normally, I have a handful of them.
Looks like Rigetti is starting to turn to the downside, so we might get some more upside movement there. Well, we should get upside movement with RGTC, but it's looking like it's beginning to curl over, Rigetti. So,
FI, this continues to creep up. Michael, looks like
NHTC, National.
I hear that. Squat. You do hear it?
Here on light volume.
Okay, so
Hotel Tango Charlie.
I hope I don't get in trouble for that. I've got to figure out. Let's see if I can figure this out.
CMBM is making its way up to VWAP, and it's getting a little bit of volume here. I don't know if it's going to be enough to chew through all these sellers that are in the way, especially at 210. But I just thought it would be worth mentioning. We are getting a little bit of a raise here on the price. The MACD is starting to have the momentum swing to the upside. RSI is low enough, so it's the selling may have concluded. We'll see if this can continue higher. CMBM. PPBT. This looks like it's been trying to hold above the 65 EMA. I was just going to say it looks like it's about to go lower, and it just started moving through the 65 EMA. This is trading into a descending triangle, and the point I was about to make with the candles down here in the 65 EMA is that that's the bottom of the triangle that it's about to go through, and it looks like we're about to fall. We're falling through it right now. So PPBT continuing lower.
Amanda says, I find that I miss Charlie on the weekend. That's funny. And Jay's right. Charlie is great. You have to be careful, though. His shoutouts they usually either get faded or bought. And indeed, and I think that one of the things that's tough about that, Jay, is like the more you listen to it, the more you start to realize what catalysts are actually going to drive stocks, especially now. Like if you have a squawk that's something that's AI related or NVIDIA related, you probably have a little bit more upside legs on that than, a more general or less punchy squawk. But that's definitely something to pay attention to.
Oh, hey, Zeal, I'm glad that that worked out for you. If you're the one that was asking about the levels, then I'm glad that worked out. I didn't have a lot of conviction on MSAI, but those levels did look pretty good to me. So glad it worked out for you. TER, Teradyne. This is trying to recapture VWAP and the 65 EMA right now. This is the one I was pointing out had a really good move back above the 200 EMA, getting that as support as it did in the pre-market. Now we're at the VWAP right now, trying to get back above the VWAP and the 65 EMA. Looking not bad.
First of all, with Teradyne, Jay, I think you said it was the low 130s that you were looking to add. Maybe I'm getting that right or wrong. Correct me.
Yes.
Okay, that was it. So he didn't add here today then. Okay.
We were looking at 130s to 140. I think that's what we were both kind of saying there.
Got it. That's right. That's right.
ERNA did lose VWAP. You're right. This coming back in. It looks like it's coming into a bit of a support area. A little bit of a trend line there. Seems like if this doesn't hold $2, we're going to be looking for a test of the 65 EMA down around 175. That's just what ERNA looks like it's going to end up doing here if it loses that $2 level. And Road Zone is still trying to move up and away from the VWAP. The volume is pretty low here, so I don't know how much upside we're going to get out of this. I just noticed that it had a bit of a pop there, but volume doesn't look great in RDZN.
RDZN.
Yeah. Teradyne still trying to get back above that. It just tested the 65 EMA, so and now it's kind of reversing. Don't know if it's going to come back into the 200 EMA, but it did have that test of the 65 and got a slight rejection.
I'll tell you what, you're right there on RoadZen, RDZN. This is still higher than where I bought this morning after that exclusive news. So, and it is still 50. I bought it at 142, just to give you an idea. It's still at 157 here. Yeah, no volume, but we did get it earlier. I still might try trading these. I showed you guys how to set up a news feed to capture exclusive news that we have in our news feed prior to the release of the press release, excuse me. And I might keep trying to trade those here. This wasn't a big winner, but it was at least on the green side.
CMBM now trading for now above its 65 EMA. So this is getting a little bit of a lift. There is a small gap to fill in the regular session that goes from about 209 to 229. So a little 20-cent gap to fill. That was shortly after the open, about 10 minutes after the open, we had this gap down. I think that was because of the halts that it was having earlier. So there's an upside gap to fill from the halts. Going to need some more volume, but it's slowly climbing its way up. Meanwhile, PPBT is continuing lower, looking for some support down around 85 cents. I don't know why I keep mentioning this one because I think this is a dog and it's going back in the doghouse. But, there are plenty of stock traders out there, and if this is something that's interesting to you, then I'll just keep talking about it. So 85 cents looks like the next support area to me. MSAI still trying to climb back over that VWAP. Apple will go lower, says Tenzin. Fantastic. SLB and Hertz. Real
quickly. Sorry, I know you're trying to move on here, but real quickly, let me ask Tenzin. First of all, Tenzin's been spot on with trading Apple recently. Tenzin, is this a short if it can't hold this low here at what, 268.70 ish? Are you looking for puts on that, or are we looking for maybe a bounce here? You're saying it was going to go lower.
Take care, Shady.
Take care of yourself, Shady. Just curious, not to put you on the spot, but you've been hot when it comes to Apple recently.
MSAI doing way better than I was expecting. Congratulations, everybody that took that.
You think there's a chance at retaking 140?
Let me go back to it. Well, it's certainly looking like it's trying to get up there, but let's see what happens if it can get through 130. There's some big sellers in the way there. That's the first thing, first hurdle I need to see, get left over. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But if that does happen, then I think 140 is certainly on the table. Now, ERNA is at this trend line, the support trend line, because it's been kind of trading up in a parallel channel all morning. So if we lose this this channel, I think that it is going to come down to that 175 area I was mentioning earlier. And MSAI, yep, looks like they're still trying to, they're chewing up those 130 sellers. Trying to go higher.
There we go. Oh. MSAI. Kev, take care of yourself. Thank you for everything. Tenzin, in answer to my question, feels like a put, but I don't know with what Powell say. That's the wild card here today, right? You almost might just be better waiting for the press conference and then make your trade based on what the chart tells you then. The thing I hate the most about these Fed decisions is I always have a meeting on Wednesday when this happens. And today I have a meeting that ends right as we get the decision and another meeting that starts right at the back of that. So I'm going to somehow have to try and do something. Maybe I'll be late and go to the washroom and see if I can throw a trade on there. We'll see.
Oh, sorry.
Don't tell anybody though, guys.
It's all on stream. Be quiet.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're streaming. How about that? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna quit while we're behind here. 13. It's almost time for story trading. You got any closing words for the group here, just in case I don't make it back?
Hey, folks, I had another wonderful day with everybody. I'm glad that even though we had a bit of a low volume day with some of these movers, we can still find a lot of things to trade and talk about. Congratulations on everybody that was hitting MSAI. I didn't have a lot of conviction on that one, but it worked out seemingly for a lot of people. So congratulations to all there, folks. I will be back here tomorrow as usual. We'll be in the chat with you. I'll go through the futures talk, but afterwards we'll be trading again as normal. So until then, folks, have a great rest of your day.
And just to be clear, 13, even though you're not on screen, you're still actively trading and looking. Nothing's changed for you. So
no, I type in the background. I let you know what I'm looking at the levels. So just keep an eye on the chat tomorrow for when the futures are on. I'll be in there. But until then, folks, see you later.
All right, 13. We'll break down the FOMC meeting in happy hour today. Have a good one, buddy, and good luck on that. 13's departure leaves room for the one and only Story Trading Group, who have been doing great work with us recently. Let's bring on Ben, Rhett, and the Godfather. Oops, I hate it when those things change, and I didn't bring the Godfather on. There we go. Ben, how you doing?
Doing okay. Could be doing better. I mean, look, overall, I'm doing great. Up over 600%. Hit a new high as of like yesterday morning. But since yesterday morning, been a little tough for me. Obviously, I have FOMC today.
Yep.
There's a lot to talk about. Weird market, very weird market. Look at this ONDS coming back right now. By the way, IWM's coming back, but it's been weird. So hang out. You'll listen to our macro call right now.
That works for me. I'll be in the background. I'll get out of your hair, but enjoy story trading here. Good luck, folks. We'll see you in about a half hour.
All right, cool. All right, here we go. This is going to be interesting. Godfather, I'm definitely curious your take on the macro after I give my take here. But weird couple of days, because what's weird is the divergence between QQQ SPY and then just poor breath, right? IWM, not going up with QQQ SPY, and even within SPY, it's been very, very poor breath. Unless you were in NVIDIA, Palantir, or any of the, or if you were touched by the angel of NVIDIA. Or touched by the angel of OpenAI in the last couple of days. Those mega caps were doing well, but the breadth extremely, extremely, extremely narrow coming into FOMC. And it could go both ways. When you have narrow breadth, I think most people think that's a bad sign and we're about to crash, but that's not always true. I've seen bad breadth resolve higher after you get past whatever event people are worried about. And here, obviously, people are worried about FOMC. So we have the bad breath ahead of that. So honestly, I don't know what's going to happen 2 p.m., 2:30. I don't know what the reaction is going to be, but I'll say two things. I'll say there's a lot of risk in QQQ SPY. Maybe we'll see a rotation back to small caps after this. I don't know. But there's a lot of risk in these charts in QQQ SPY because all of these gaps, I don't know last time, have I ever seen, I don't know that I've ever seen like daily gaps like this in QQQ SPY. So there's risk in filling some of these gaps to the downside. But then the other thing I'm going to say is even if that happens, and it may not, this may just resolve into a squeeze. I don't know. But let's say there is a pullback. And who knows, maybe worst case scenario, you pull back all the way to 613, which is like 20 points from here near the 20 DMA. That's possible. But even if that happens, I think you're going to rip higher after that. Of course, I'm kind of saying this blindly because I don't know what Jerome Powell is going to say. But the reason I say that is because of seasonality and tax deferral strategies, which I think are going to be very, very exaggerated this year. A huge year of gains. People do not want to sell their winners. And I think it has something to do with why, Palantir and NVIDIA are screaming up. People do not want to sell their winners until January 2nd. And they're going to be incentivized to sell their losers. So it's a very weird market today. I don't know what to make of this Godfather, this weakness in IWM the last couple of days while QQQ SPY is roaring up. So I'll leave it there. You can maybe answer that for me and then give me your own macro take.
Well, look, you kind of touched on it. Breadth was absolutely abysmal yesterday. Not only were sort of 80% of all the constituents in the S&P down, and of course the indices closed up, all thanks to NVIDIA, but even in the NDX itself, the top 100 NASDAQ listed companies, 60% of them were down. So yeah. It was very much, Have
you ever seen something this exaggerated like this?
I was slow on everything else, so I watched the Jensen keynote, and it was just simply a name drop session, right? I mean, they're coalescing their grip on AI hardware by exercising their size and partnering with the biggest people in the various spaces, Uber and autonomous, delivery and robotaxis and, Palantir on defense software and, you name it. Now this sort of move to a mobility cloud in this deal with Nokia. It's great if you've got a treasury like they do, and you can return the favor by buying $1 billion worth of your partner's shares, which is what these deals involve. So, look, it's not a healthy sign for the market, for certain. We are going into this big cap reporting today and tomorrow in earnest, and the same things that sort of were at issue the last reporting for these companies are at issue again. And look, we saw basically the large caps trade flat for about a month going into this reporting season. So the setups are pretty good. I think you mentioned this morning you like Amazon of the large caps.
That's my favorite one out of the large caps.
And I think that's borne out. I looked at all these names as well. Google certainly looks the most extended going into its report with its big moves of late. I would add Meta to that list with Amazon in terms of names that don't look that demanding in terms of setup. But I think look, just going back to this idea of breadth and what's going on here, people go, well, shit, we've got a government shutdown. We've got, China tariff thing that hasn't resolved. We've got...
look at this. Sorry, I want to draw your attention back to this very specific point. Why QQQ SPY exploding and IWM down? Look, and the exact inverse is happening right now. It's as if I don't know if you listened to my stream earlier. It's as if Sunday night, all the hedge funds and institutions had a meeting and like, all right, let's code our algos this week. So IWM does the exact opposite of QQQ, all throughout the week. QQQ up, let's sell off IWM. QQQ down, let's buy IWM. I mean, is there a logic behind why this is happening, you think?
Yeah, I was just trying to get to that. So
okay,
I think that, what you see in a messy macro narrative that reeks of uncertainty. All these things are still at play here. We do not have resolution with China. The job issue looks very murky. Valuations are high. We just saw, a massive momentum reversal, causing a lot of folks that came in late, in these small cap trades, in these theme trades, get absolutely demolished, right? It wasn't too long ago. We had several back-to-back double-digit down days, taking out all of this froth and rare earths and nuclear and you name it. So I think, a lot of what we're seeing here is, people going back to the large cap names for safety in an environment like this.
Flight to safety.
Yeah, and people look at the same thing with the what we're seeing with the 10-year. Okay, we're under 4, and look at
the quality. I would say flight to quality. I think flight to safety would be more TLT. This is more flight to quality.
And so you're looking and you're like, well, why aren't we getting a response? In the housing names with interest rates under 4. It's because rates are going down for the wrong reason. They're going down because people are bidding them up. So, I think what we really need to see out of Powell today, in order to get some movement to the upside in sectors like IWM, and sectors that, indicate or are really sensitive to lower interest rates, is two things. One, we need to get recognition of the September dots, which, points to a third cut here in December. And the second thing we need to see is them basically putting a halt to the balance sheet reductions, right? They've been letting the bonds that they own mature. We need to see them back in the market buying again. This brings cash into the banking system, excess reserves at the banks, that gets lent out, more liquidity. Ultimately, that money makes its way into risk assets. So there's a lot of commentary about the Fed having gone too far in terms of quantitative tightening. So if we get a signal that the Fed is getting near the end, or possibly they're comfortable with the level of the balance sheet where it is now, I think some 8 trillion or so has come out. That I think is potentially biggest.
So everyone knows
out of the Fed today.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows we're getting that 25 bip cut. We better, otherwise it's look out below. So I guess the question really comes about the quantitative tightening versus the quantitative easing. I don't know what's expected there. Have there been hints by the Fed or Powell or last time? What are the expectations in terms of that? Are they going to stop the quantitative?
There are some expectations that the Fed has gone too far, and they'll signal that they're either ending or coming close to the end. And I think that will be taken.
So if they signal that, do you think that's baked in, or
it's
are we
the
going to
only
see
thing that
IWM
isn't baked in at this point? Because the rate cut is
so
baked
end
in,
of
and December is even
quantitative
baked
tightening.
in if you look at the Fed fund futures.
So you think that's if we were looking for upside, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for Powell this afternoon ending quantitative tightening, and then you think that can cause a rotation a little bit back into risk and IWM.
Yeah, and we need to see him, comfortable referencing the September dots, which imply this third cut.
Okay, so that's what you're looking for, but are you expecting that to happen? Or are you?
I'm a little bit concerned about the former, and by that I, just to clarify, Fed, Powell has a way of acting more easy, more dovish, and making comments in the presser that can be construed as hawkish, and that's what I'm concerned about, because the market is super.
Well, look, I would love to see a rotation back into IWM. Rhett and I bought some QQQ puts yesterday that I think you're going to ride that into the meeting.
Correct.
Right,
yeah, just act as a hedge.
Yeah, we're going to ride that into the meeting because I didn't like all these gaps in the chart, but anything can happen. It's like a 0.3% allocation for me, so it doesn't matter.
To me, the earnings that we're going to get out of these mega cap tech names today and tomorrow is a bigger thing. And look, we need to see some evidence that you're getting product adoption momentum.
Well, we haven't really seen. I mean, there's been a number of mega cap tech that reported.
Yeah,
so
and every
far,
one of them's been a beat and fade. You know, look at TSMC. Look at
beat and fade. Okay, beat and fade, but
ASML.
we haven't.
Yeah, these are the
But maybe price action beaten. Well, no, I mean the last couple of days, a lot of them have probably
they beat on
short back in
earnings,
their eyes, right?
but they've been faded, which indicates that you know, things are priced in. And look, on average, we're looking for a 9% increase in earnings in this third quarter. Over 75% of that is coming from these AI mega cap names. So they have to come in for the denominator to stay firm.
Now I need to share this. Okay, you're talking about beat and fade, but I haven't, for the most part, most of these companies have been beating and raising in terms of their EPS expectations. Price action may have been fading. However, there was a warning sign here. PayPal. I hope you saw it. I'm pretty sure you saw it because I know you read my morning note. But PayPal, in the transcript, you saw we made good money, thank God, on PayPal call options into that OpenAI relationship. However, the earnings report, this is verbatim transcript from the earnings report. Q4 guidance missed. Okay, so basically it went up on the OpenAI thing. They raised their guidance for the year, maybe on the back of all these relationships that they're building with Google and OpenAI. But Q4 guidance missed, and this is why. Okay, quote. I didn't put in quotes here, but it is in quotes. Macro-related deceleration in the USA and Europe since September. Oh, it's not a quote. I rephrased it, but it's accurate. They said there's macro-related deceleration in the USA and Europe since September and into October. And into October, meaning now, with smaller basket sizes. Okay. That's the first thing I've seen of potential. And then I think about that, and I think about all these job cuts. And by the way, I'm hearing people in the job market having a hard time finding jobs. Could this be the beginning of, I don't know if maybe it's the AI revolution that's causing some of these job cuts, but are we maybe starting to see some cracks in the economy for whatever reason that is, AI or whatnot? Maybe that's the first sign right there from PayPal.
1000%. Kids right now in today's, like, coming out of college, they're having such a hard time finding jobs. Like, I know a couple friends, like, they came out with great degrees and they can't get a job for anything unless it's like a restaurant job. So we're starting to see that in the job market, especially for young grads coming out. Like, I'd probably say 10 to 20% of my friends are still unemployed and graduated back in May.
Yeah, look, and we saw it. Look at Visa reported. That's your biggest bellwether. The stock is down. There's another confirmation of that. We saw it in Royal Caribbean. We saw it in, pull up a chart of Wyndham Hotels, for example. I mean, absolutely dismal RevPAR growth. So, these are the discretionary portions of the consumer. What Visa had to say was...
so we're starting to see some... I didn't even see what Visa had to say.
Essentially,
what Visa had
more
to
of a concentration of consumer staples purchases and less on the discretionary side. So...
interesting. And then I think Fiserv has something to do with that too, no? Don't they do payments? Payment systems?
Yes.
So they're down 42%. I didn't see why. Is that also?
I didn't see the specifics. There must be something else going on there, certainly relative to expectations for a move like that. So.
Wow. Worst ever day after shockingly bad earnings. I didn't even look at it. So in any case.
There are opportunities in this market. So let's we switch to chat about a few of those.
Yeah. We'll get into stuff. I just want to close with this. Look, maybe I differ with you a little bit because I last week you were more bearish and I was still more bullish, and I'm still maintaining that. I still think even if we see some of these cracks, I just think, and I could be wrong, I just think the tax deferral incentive is way too strong, and we might just stay elevated even if there are fundamental issues. Just keep that in mind, Godfather. I mean, I remember one year where it was similar to this year, and this year's more exaggerated, where January 2nd in pre-market, I'm going to buy puts this year, by the way, December 31st, or whatever the last day in December is. Pre-market, the first day of January, like everything was down like 1.5% already, because that was the plan. I'm just going to sell in January, so I pay my taxes a year later. I mean, institutions, they pay it a quarter later or whatever if they're paying quarterly. So keep that in mind. I think that's going to have a huge factor.
Yeah, look, and despite this trading sideways of the large caps, which puts them in a relatively good setup position going into their earnings, assuming they can meet market expectations with respect to AI CapEx spend, which will be the number one thing in focus. And then secondly, start to show some traction on product adoption. But NDX was still up 3% in November. It's going to be, or October, it's going to be up even more than that if you factor in the NVIDIA move here. So this is the 7th straight monthly gain. It's the first time this has happened in 9 years. And if you look at November, 9 out of the last 10 Novembers, NDX was up again. So, it's exactly what you're talking about. And then we should start to get, the silly season, which we typically get in some of these smaller names. But again, I think it'll be focused more this year into AI adjacencies than anything else, because you go beyond this big CapEx spend on this major theme, and everything else in this market is struggling. Look at large cap software. It just cannot catch a bid here. Now, I appreciate a lot of that's, fears about it being cannibalized and usage being cannibalized by AI. But, small cap names that are positioned either on the power side of things or, names like AIP, for example, that are, positioned directly into the hardware, semi-trade. These are the names that I think the market's going to focus on. So, it's probably great for us because it means more of a rifle approach than a shotgun approach. And you can combine that with our list of tax loss selling.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It should be really juicy.
All right, let's move into stocks a little bit. I'm just building out the ER list for tonight and tomorrow morning. You were talking about BTU. Why don't we start there? Because I'd love to hear your BTU thesis. They report tomorrow morning, right? They report tomorrow morning. So I'm building this list here. These are the stocks reporting tonight and tomorrow morning. And there's quite a few in here that I'm very interested in. Definitely, I own TMDX long term. I'm expecting a nice earnings report tonight. TDOC, just own a little bit in call options. Let's see if they can Citron out there with a bullish thesis in terms of their Livongo business growing. Man, if this company ever inflects, you're looking at like a 2 to 3 bagger in like a couple quarters. So I'll be looking at that. But then BTU piques my interest. So go ahead, tell us your BTU thesis. Maybe we'll find a call option again on the show.
The thesis here is pretty simple, and that is, we're scraping around wherever we can to find power for this grid. We're at 85 gigs in the U.S. grid right now. We need to get to like 120 in the next 7 years. That's 40% plus. Where is that going to come from? Yes, there'll be some nuclear. We saw another deal with this plant in Iowa coming back on stream, but there really isn't much else. Everybody is sold out of power. Anything that's ahead of the meter has been taken advantage of. We saw great numbers by Bloom Energy. These guys do.
Yeah, that's up here. That's actually why I'm now keenly interested in BTU, because Bloom Energy up 22% this morning. You can see it there. And BTU has been really knocked down.
Yeah.
So Godfather, can I talk you into weekly call options, or can you never?
So I don't know how much the market's going to embrace this. It depends on management's commentary out of the initiatives by this administration to see coal-fired power plants come back on. And where this is important is for grid stability. And if you can increase grid stability, then the utilities will allow more power dedicated directly to data centers. So coal-fired power plants are baseload power. The capacity, it's the only capacity that actually exists. You saw commentary, not just in our Discord, confirming this again yesterday, that General Electric, that provides all these turbines for natural gas power plants, completely sold out right to 2028. So where does the capacity exist in the system? Nuclear is still, 7+ years away in terms of material input. So where are we going to get this 40% increase in the grid? Well, the only capacity that exists today is in thermal coal and coal-fired power plants. So yes, all of the negatives are still there in terms of this being dirty power, et cetera, et cetera. But the administration has put forward a bunch of initiatives to see these things come back on stream. And this is the sort of commentary we need out of management from BTU. They are the single largest player in this market. It's really the only go-to name. They are the NVIDIA of thermal coal. And
Okay,
we're trading
so
at
we're
5
gonna be
times. We're trading at 5 times EV/EBITDA. So,
Yeah.
and we've come off some 27% in the last like 9,
Yeah.
10 trading days. The RSI is
I
now
know. That's
well
why
under 50. I think,
Yep.
you know, I'm looking to see whether there is a long-term opportunity to average lower. If you're not in this trade at all, I think it's not demanding setup going in. And I think there will be some positive commentary, not just out of, you know, the potential to add new plants, but remember that the government opened up a bunch of land as well for new leases. They also cut the royalty rates. That has direct impact on profitability here. So
Look, people are buying BTU right now as you speak.
BTU is going to do 650 million in EBITDA this year. You know, just 3 years ago, they did, you know, close to 1.4 billion. So the earnings power is there.
Yeah.
So it is the last domain of incremental power source for this U.S. grid.
Okay.
Speaking on this
So,
real quick, someone is saying FLNC is the play on BE, not BTU. Check out FLNC.
there are a couple. There were sympathy plays on BE, including because I think their fuel cell. So plug was up a little bit this morning. BLDP. What's this other
It's
one?
FLNC.
FLNC. I don't know if they're fuel cell, but the whole fuel cell sector was up this morning. In sympathy with that, but I mean, energy in general. I don't care what kind of energy it is, right? The whole energy sector. It's all running on the same theme, but. Listen, today at 3 p.m. Well, actually, we're going to do a live stream at like 2, I guess, for FOMC, but we're going to stay on. We usually go live at 3. But today, there's a lot of earnings after the close. So we're going to be talking about BTU, TMDX, Teladoc, Carvana, PBI, Meta, Microsoft, eBay, Melly, Starbucks, Wolf, Google, Merck, Lilly. Okay, this is my list for tonight and tomorrow morning. And then we're going to discuss if we're going to be taking any bets on these. Some of these I own long term, maybe some of them. I don't love to do ER bets. I usually jump in very fast if they beat. I'll be watching like 2 or 3 that I really like, but I might take a bet on BTU. So we'll talk about that. Look at Talk as I'm speaking. Talk, it's a high of day. They're reporting, I think tomorrow morning. It's a company that I really like as well. Wow, look at that. Talk earnings anticipation run right into the 200 DMA. All right, so that's the earnings list. Let's quickly move on to my other list to see if there's anything else interesting.
I think we got to talk about Galaxy here for a second.
Galaxy, yeah, Galaxy. We're both big on that. Galaxy. I like it because of the connection of ETH, and I mean they have their hands in a lot of places. But you were both on that. We were both on a conference call. They're firing on all cylinders. But the only thing I'll note before you get into this is they did an offering at $36, which a CEO participated in, and several other executives participated in, and that's proving to be a floor. So I'll let you
look, I think the only reason we didn't see the bounce yesterday is that they upsized this deal, right? So it was $1 billion with a green shoe of another 150 million. They upped it by another 150 million. So exercising the green shoe, it's closer to 1.3 billion. When you see that, the algos look at, that's even more incremental dilution. People need to understand here that they are going to use 700 million of this. This is 0.5% coupon to retire 3% exchangeable notes from 2026. So not only does that cut their annual interest cost by about 8 million, but it eliminates the 13.3 million shares that would have been issued by December of next year. And, instead there's potentially, and again, I say potentially because they have the option to do this in cash, there's potential dilution, now out in 2028 for 8 million shares in excess of, 55.76, which is the conversion. So look, at 47 or 37.70, we're now 50%, almost 50% below that price. So look, these guys just had blockbuster earnings. You were on that conference call, right? You know, they reported adjusted EBITDA of 630 million in Q3 alone. This gives them tremendous negotiating power for future data center financing. Not only that, but this is really cheap capital driving really nice returns, growth returns.
Hey, I need to interrupt you because I just got an alert, a new 52-week high for Carmen, KRMN.
Yes.
And you gave an incredible alert a couple weeks ago because not only did he get us, our community, into KTOS, I got it for the long time. I wasn't really trading it. I just bought it for my retirement account way down. I don't know, must have been $30 or something that we got into KTOS. Yep. And then we like rode it all the way up to close to 100. And then he told us, hey guys, it might be a good idea to rotate out of KTOS and into Carmen because of valuation. And I did that. I followed that. I just been doing this in my retirement account. Just got an alert, new 52-week high. So perfect alert on both times, on KTOS and then the rotation into Carmen. Awesome.
Yeah, I put that relative valuation chart out there. And look, I agree with the comment that you made this morning for long term. If you're in the right sectors, you know, valuation doesn't matter because these names will grow into the valuation.
Right sector. Specifically, I was talking about management and vision.
But you know, you're talking about large cap growth companies that continue to grow into their valuation. And you know, my only concern looking at Carmen, you know, directly was that, oh my God, this thing is expensive. But then I looked at KTOS and I'm like, how can KTOS be twice as expensive as Carmen when it's got twice the margins? So it was an obvious one, and it's a good example of where you can use fundamentals, you know, to make adjustments. And then again, this thing is expensive. It's always going to be expensive because it's positioned, you know, perfectly in all of these supply chains in new defense tech. There's nobody with a better position. Yeah. Especially with
Palantir. Speaking of expensive, Palantir heading to 200. But you know, I was early on this, and then I was late on it. Like Palantir was early in like the single digits. I'm like, this thing is inflected when it was like $8. I'm like, inflection points here. Yeah. Then I sold it at like 25, and I never bought it again because of valuation. So between 25 and like 200, I'm now late in realizing and finally understanding why there's a premium in this stock, and it's probably justified. I'm not going to go into all of it now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this over $1 trillion one day, and I think it'll grow into it. But
yeah, here's another
I was early, and then I was late, and I missed it between 25 and
Me too. I was early on that one. I traded it in single digits, I think into the teens. I think you said you got 20 there. Then I sold it, and then I was late on it, and I actually had a butterfly, an options butterfly from like 30 to 70. So I was able to hit a little bit of that, but not the way I wanted. That's for sure.
Like this, I've never seen a multiple that high in a stock, man. I mean, this multiple is
the PE is still crazy. The PE is still crazy.
The forward PE is 448. Price to sales is 130. I've never seen anything like this. But look, I think they're the AI engine of the world.
And I'm trying to trade PLTZ, not doing so well on it. We'll see how that ends up going. Really good stuff here again, folks. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
Sounds good.
Godfather, Rhett, and Ben, have a good one. Really good stuff from the Story Trading Group again. I love their interaction. I love that you guys stick around and interact with them too. Really, really awesome. Folks, big FOMC meeting here today. We'll see how the market goes. We'll be back to do this all again tomorrow. We are streaming that here today. So be sure to check that out. But we'll be back here again tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see you tomorrow.